favor. This is one more, please. Hello, and welcome to Otra, por favor.
Otra, por favor.
Another episode here in the studio of Hyperware.
Hyperware Studios. Let's go.
How are you today, Koke?
I'm doing amazing, man. And as you know, at Otra, por favor, we like to celebrate experiences in football, community, and culture. While many of our other previous episodes have been rooted in Austin stories, today we have the privilege of taking the skies, the seas, planes, automobiles, trains, and living our best life with our special guest here, Vicky Gonzales. Vicky has forged her own path, past traditional expectations of career and life while always holding with pride her Mexican-American identity. She's traveled all over the world and is here to share her stories, her travel expertise, and recent ventures into event planning. So join us in welcoming Vicky Gonzales.
Hey guys,
Hey.
Thanks for the welcome.
How are you today, Vicky?
I'm doing great. Little busy, but nice to be back in Austin, Texas. I love this place.
Yeah,
Went to college here, so it always feels like
hook
home.
'em.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Are you also
Hey.
you also went to UT?
I did.
Nice.
I did.
Yeah. So actually, a little bit of how I met Vicky. It was through a mutual connection. We've talked about him several times. I feel we talked about him so much that he almost has to be on the show at some point. Uzi Aguirre.
Everybody knows Uzi.
Everybody knows Uzi, a.k.a. Squid Boy, a.k.a. so many a.k.a.s, right? But yeah, he introduced me to Vicky. It was at some party, and all I remember, what sticks with me is the late night ride to Jack in the Box. Because Vicky somehow was driving us
I don't know
home.
why.
I don't know how. I don't know how she got in charge of being responsible
I was
for
the designated driver that night.
Yes. And we go to Jack in the Box, and of course we get the tacos.
Okay.
The 99 cent.
Oh, well,
I
with
was-
ranch and
I
everything.
miss those things.
Hey, we don't have those things anymore, man.
Now they're
Inflation.
129.
Wait.
They're a
Yeah?
little more
Oh,
expensive.
they're more
Yeah.
expensive? Wow.
I think the only thing that stayed cheap during the inflation was the Arizona iced tea, but everything else para arriba.
So yeah, that in that moment of drunkenness and party, whatever college experience, Vicky took care of me. Probably took care of Uzi too. And fast forward another 10 years, and she's taking care of a lot more
10
people now.
Years.
It's
Wow.
crazy.
I know.
It's crazy. So welcome to the show, Vicky. I'm so excited to hear
for having me,
hear
guys.
you.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. And we actually did something different today just to vibe with the talk and traveling. We actually dressed up a little bit. We usually come after work with tank top, something like that looks like we just got done working out, or a black shirt, But today, Coca was like, dude, let's bring something different.
Estamos en la playa.
I
Estamos
love
en
it.
Tulum.
Estamos
Yeah,
in,
there we go.
we're in Tulum. And but yeah, let's hop into, before we get in the whole part of your work and everything. We want to hear about you and your upbringing. Can you let us know where you're from originally and what was it like for you growing up?
For sure. So I grew up in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
So I'm Texas native. And I'm one of three girls. I'm first generation Mexican American. So my parents came in at a young age. Didn't know each other. They're from Zacatecas and Querétaro. So if you guys are familiar with those areas. I guess lower middle class, growing up in a mostly predominantly white neighborhood. But with the years, it ended up becoming predominantly Mexican. So
As the trend goes, sometimes it's opposite, but this was a
Different,
Mexican trend. I like it.
and being the oldest out of three, it was always told to me like, tienes que sacar adelante a tus hermanas. tienes
Be the
que sacar-
ejemplo. Be the example.
Be the example.
Right.
Like, I always had to have the top grades because if I had good grades, my sisters followed. I had to be una doctora. I had to get a scholarship. It was just like all these expectations
All
were
these
laid
pressures,
out for me.
yeah.
And thinking back to it, I tell my parents, like, thanks for pushing me and putting those expectations to me, because they did give up a lot to come to this country, and not knowing the language, it has to be worth it, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I do thank them for, they pushed me. I didn't grow up to be doctor. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Or a lawyer or anything else they envisioned for me.
Hey, Vicky.
But I think it's safe to say that at this point they are still like proud of the daughter they raised and, you know, the small accomplishments they've already gained. So, yeah, being a Latina just in Mesquite, Texas.
Mesquite, Texas.
Man, well, I mean, I would say just traveling and experiencing everything you've done, that's an accomplishment. Yeah, you know, you're not a doctor, you're not an attorney, but, I mean, you got to experience what they want to experience every day. So
that's very true. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You live to live that lavish life. I kind of live it like cheating, but I do it.
No, and we're excited to hear about those lavishes and luxuries that you've found hacks, found tips, found ways to do it, because for a lot of people we find that these types of things like traveling and doing things that are kind of luxurious are unattainable, or we kind of block ourselves from it. But you found ways to do these things and fully experience things without having to hold yourself back. So I can't wait to get into that. But if you can tell us why, like, so you went to school, you went to UT, right? And you studied a career. What was it that you studied originally?
I went into school. So funny. I majored in psychology with the intention of going into grad school and becoming a sex and relationship therapist for heterosexual relationships.
Okay,
gotcha.
And I was like, and then I minored in advertising. So
wow,
yeah,
it's pretty diverse. It's pretty
route.
diverse.
I was gonna say, I've never heard where someone goes into psychology, you know, and then goes into advertising.
Yeah, no, well, it was it's very
it's kind of close. Yeah, it's kind of close.
It's funny because like I really got into like the sales and marketing of it because I was taking my psychology course, social psychology or something, and we were learning about how the humans just react to certain marketing tools. So like the marketing fear, like how propaganda like puts all these markets out and how people react psychologically wise, like colors they even use. Like for some reason, like blue is a huge popular for a brand. So if you think of blue, you think of like trusting. So you think of like, you know, some major brands that use the color blue. That's probably why they went
Probably
that route.
a lot of airlines use that blue in their branding.
Oh, that's true too.
JetBlue, Delta, Southwest.
Yeah, see, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Frontier doesn't have blue y la están cagando.
Exactly. Mira, Spirit, yellow, imagínate, no. Está el secreto. El problema es el color del vuelo.
We could get into Spirit. I definitely want to talk about Spirit later. I don't know how we didn't think about this, but
I think we just solved like a first world problem.
There we go. Now we know the issue. Like, I swear out of this, if they don't hear it, then
I know.
I don't know.
They need to, like, if they change their colors, yeah, well, we're copywriting this.
I know, right?
I saw this video of somebody on Spirit Airlines or like waiting in the lobby in the gate was preaching on the speaker or something.
Okay.
Like giving a sermon.
What?
And I was thinking like, you know, as much as you know, I respect people's like spirituality and religions, like maybe that's not something I want to that certain people want to hear before they take a flight. What if they're like a different religion? Or
Yeah, there's a time and a place for sure.
That would never happen on the airline I work for.
Yeah. All right. So we're deviating a little bit. So yeah, you went to school. You studied psychology. You had a minor in advertising, and then what was that? What was the experience? The college experience. What else did you get out of that educational experience apart from like what you studied?
It's funny because like, you know, being in college in Austin, I'm Latino. Like I didn't have, like rich parents to pay for all of my stuff.
Yeah.
So I was always getting into like small gigs, whether it was like for temporary semester, like the entire year. And I would always pick up like promoting. I started promoting at the clubs in Dallas, you know?
Okay.
What
So,
clubs?
Thrive was one of them.
Hey.
Shout out
I
Thrive.
have no idea.
They don't exist anymore.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying.
But like I was always in the mix socially,
Okay.
right? I was doing promotions. Dude, I promoted Tito's when they were like coming out.
Oh,
Like when they wanted
dang.
to become that bottle was like, I think I was selling it for like $18 back then. I mean, now
The
it's
handle of Tito's?
yeah, it's like I love Tito's.
Yeah.
Tito's is good.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great brand. But that's to tell you, like, you know, I kind of just always was in the mix of like social, like, I don't know, the nightlife vibe. And even with my sorority, I was the social officer. So like I put up club events and for our fundraisers and for our, you know, get-togethers. I forgot what we called them back then. Meetings. No, whenever you like. Remember when Odify and
I'm not
Mixers.
I don't.
Mixers.
Oh, mixers.
Oh,
Mixers.
okay.
Gotcha.
There we go. I'm like, I'm never like too. What is it called? Yeah. So I just.
So you've always been a social butterfly. And
Always
putting
been
your-
a social butterfly.
Putting yourself in situations that either you're hustling or at these like social events.
And
Right.
frega. So one thing, like say for example, you come from like say your parents, they never really like experienced or never had, because of their priority was to help you, and make sure you guys were okay. But in their mind, they never thought like say, you know what, I want to do this like social things outside, like social light, and do these events at nightlife, because it's a for me, I've always enjoyed the nightlife too. Just more so like the picture part, the marketing part behind events, concerts.
Right.
I'm not a really morning person. I go to sleep at 3 sometimes.
He goes to sleep when I wake up.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's like say for example with what you're doing or what you were thinking of, you growing up, like did you ever have any like from your parents any questions or any moments where they were questioning like, oh, what's up? What are you doing?
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like I guess this is kind of a important note to make. My dad's a bartender.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
dang, I had no idea.
Yeah, so my dad raised the family on bartending life. He actually managed some really high-end bars where like the Cowboys back in the 90s are like, party.
Nice. Wait.
That's when they were
Yeah.
cray, bro. Like
Yeah,
Cowboys
like
in the
little
90s.
Emmett Smith running around, Sure, my dad saw some crazy stuff,
Oh,
but
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he's got some stories.
I know.
but no, I think like that. Obviously, you always want your kids to do better, and
Right.
they would always be like, "Yo no sé por qué andas fuera esta noche, porque quieres salir," and I'm like, I don't know, I want to have a good time, I want to enjoy life. High school, I mean, because I would go home in the summer for like during college, y ahí andaba promoting. Mommy, it's making me money. Pero ¿por qué tienes que chingado hacer eso? ¿No tienes otra cosa? Like, they felt like it was a reflection on like my parents too,
On them, yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
and even like there was a time where like my dad, like, si yo tomaba una cerveza y estaba en la jarra, or like I would get in trouble. Lady, it's not ladylike.
Right, no, and really that's something I want to touch on too, because I grew up as the oldest, and the middle child is my sister Alejandra, and she's maybe like 5 or 4 years younger than me, and she grew up with a lot of those same pressures from my parents, like the image of, because my parents
Of
had,
a lady.
they have a business. My mom has a beauty salon, my dad has a sports store, like, so obviously we would all kind of help out, and the image of my sister was always more pressure like on her, like how she portrayed herself, like how she was how she appeared, versus my brother and I, we had a little bit less pressure, we had a little bit more liberties to go out, to drink from the jarra or whatever, even if we weren't of age. But it's something that I think we need to touch on as Latinos, because like it's a double standard that we got to call out, and maybe
it's very true. I think like my dad's from un pueblo, like a small town, so
¿En Zacatecas o Querétaro?
Zacatecas.
Okay.
So like the even more pressure of like that. I think that they come into the city and they still have all those like traditions and
right.
you
know what you know. Like,
yeah, exactly. So he's coming in like you go out. Si la hija de tal sale con el novio, by the end of the day, like everybody knows about it, right? But it's not. I mean, Dallas has like 2 million people,
So
right? No, I'm sorry, Dad, we're not that popular yet. Like nobody knows who Gonzales is, like. But it was very much even with my family, right? Like I grew up with my best friend was an older cousin. He's a guy, and it was always like, bueno, Alex anda afuera hasta las 12, and I'm like, can I go? No puedes, eres mujer. And or no puedes tomar cerveza, Vicky, eres mujer. And I'm like, I got really tired of that, because it's like, why am I any much more of that difference? And my dad and I have fought maybe 3 times in my entire life. And our first fight was me being the cabrona. I was like, what, I'm tired of this shit.
Yeah.
I went to go buy a 24 de 12X. And me puse a pistear con mi amiga in the house. I was like, fuck it. Like, they're going to come home and they're going to see me. And, oh, my God. Yo no te dije así. Yo no sé por qué eres así. Yada, yada, yada. And, I kind of confronted him. I was like, listen, if you want me to go out in this world and take on man positions, be CEO, be a boss, you can't treat me any different or I'm going to think different.
Right. That's a great point. That's a great point.
Damn.
Sheesh.
God.
I don't know where and it's crazy because like I feel like sometimes it's hard you know, we grew up Latinos. You gotta respect your elders.
Right.
You gotta like
Right.
follow your mom and dad's. And by
But
all
to
means,
a point, right?
Yeah.
To a point.
by all means, trust me, like,
Respectfully, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
disagree
Exactly.
and bring up what your thoughts and perspectives are.
we gotta like get rid of some of this like the machismo, the double standards that as Mexicans
Yeah.
we're like, you know,
There's
just
a lot.
passing on and continue to like do, you know?
It's something that we've talked a lot about on this
Yeah.
podcast. That like machismo is something that we gotta recognize and also call out when we see it.
Call out because it's not healthy. At the end of the day, it's I believe women should wear whatever they want to wear. They should dress however they want to dress, without a guy saying anything, you know, because it's like, say for example, I always, you know, whenever I grew up, I had a hard time with that aspect. It's very similar where, ¿qué van a decir si estoy tomando Richie en la iglesia? And I was like, me vale lo que diga en la iglesia. Like, as I got older, like, they're not paying my bills. Like,
I was
whenever,
thinking that like
like, whenever I moved to Houston and I was, you know, I was living there with a roommate, like, nobody's paying my bills.
yeah.
So when I
Yeah.
came back with a different mentality, like, because it was in Galveston when we were, you know, lived there for 15 years, and it was always like, ¿qué van a decir los hermanos y hermanas? Y el pastor, which is cool. Like, other people, you know, I really look up to that and I admire that. But I'm like, this guy doesn't pay my stuff. Like, he's just a guy that everybody looks up to, which is good. But he cannot dictate who you are and what you do.
Right.
So for me, I took it as, you know, you have to be bold. And even with my parents, like me drinking a beer, not until like I would say recently, it finally came okay with my dad to, okay, I can drink a beer in front of him.
It just
But
took nearly
it
40
took
years.
a while, almost 40 years. But then again, like I had a talk with him like one day, and I told him, look, you're focusing on this one glass with liquid on it that can, you know, loosen me up or whatever. But that's not my lifestyle. Like, my lifestyle is creating things, is doing all this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
trying
missing
to
the
create.
point,
Yeah,
right?
the point for me is not drinking, but the point for me is doing everything I can because I want to do it. Because, you know, if it's bad and if it's illegal, then I can see why
Right.
you're getting on my case. But I'm creating stuff that it's something different, and it's something that, you know, that you should feel like, okay, I need to pay attention to what you're doing, your content, and everything you do, rather than just like a beer.
Right.
And he kind of got it, like,
Yeah, the
after
pressure.
that.
But like, if I'm gonna be out being a superstar, I
Yeah.
want to like relax when I get home. If
Right.
I'm gonna have a chela, like relax.
No pasa nada.
No pasa,
pasa
nada.
nada, yeah.
No, I think in my family, being the oldest, like, and kind of facing those same type of pressures from parents, like, you know, why are you drinking? Why are you doing this? Maybe it wasn't as much as pressure as like my sister, but at the same time, you know, my family, like, historically has had some have had problems with alcohol, and so my parents, especially my mother, she always kind of in her mind like saw that and didn't want me to fall into the same mistakes
Right.
and patterns. But, you know, once I started kind of maturing and growing and like not truly acting out, just, hey, I'm gonna have a beer or two and it's gonna be fine, it worked out. But it's tough, you know. You being the older sibling, you know that there's a lot of pressure to be that example for your younger siblings.
Yeah, very much, very much. And it's funny, like, I mean, nos gusta cotorrear los Mexicans.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, it's known that, like, I mean, we have el borracho on la loteria, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally, that's the character on a game.
The
on a
loteria
family
reflects
game.
everything in our lives.
The aspect.
La
Literally,
dama,
everything.
el mundo, el diablo.
Yeah, the loteria explains
la estrella,
society, the societal
El
structure.
ángel, yeah. No, bro, it does.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. But, and it's funny because, like, when I travel to places and I tell people, like, oh, soy mexicana, Mexican. Oh, que empieza la fiesta. Like,
The
they-
stereotypes,
they-
the stereotypes
Sacan el
just
tequila,
jump in.
yeah, they're like, el tequila, la cerveza. And it's like so funny. But I mean, it's kind of true. People might think of alcoholics. I think we like to have a good time. That's it.
Yeah.
Vicky, I'm glad you mentioned traveling. This is like a huge part of what you've been doing and, you know, who you are. Tell us what got you. When did you get bit by that travel bug?
Oh my God. So actually funny. And we were in college. Spring break's always a thing, right? Like, who doesn't want to have the best spring break?
Not bad.
Dude, every
See,
spring break.
I never got to experience that because
No,
I was
hombre,
a Christian. Wait, so I didn't start drinking till like I was maybe 25, that's when I literally like, okay, I'm gonna go out and drink.
Yo, we gotta dedicate like a week to Richie.
Oh
and
no,
then, like,
but after 25, ahí le di
We
con
gotta
todo.
just do a spring
no,
break
but we
for
gotta
you,
do
bro.
a spring break for you. Like, you can't. Like, what?
I've done everything, but I'm like, I don't think I've ever had a spring break moment.
Missing out, man.
I know, right?
All right.
So I think that like as I was in college, you know, I was like, oh, Padre Island. Yeah, let's go. Freshman
Vámonos a
year.
Padre.
I had my car. I was like, road trip. And then I was like, next year, what am I going to do? And then I was like, oh, you know, I think I was rushing actually, but ended up in Cancun one year and Miami one year. And then my friend was like, hey, I'm studying abroad in Paris.
Ooh.
So at this point, I was already known as the spring breaker, like, planner.
Okay.
Right? Like, everybody was like, where's Victoria going for spring break?
You assumed that role.
I was just like, I know where the it spots are at.
wow.
No. But, yeah, I remember my friend invited me to go to Paris. And I was like, I don't even know if I can, like, afford this, you know? So I was like, I don't know, let me check prices. Well, I had my cousin, she was working with an airline.
Okay.
And she hooked it up with the ticket,
Ooh.
gifted it to me
La
for my
prima.
21st birthday.
Ooh.
Went to Paris for,
Shout out to the prima.
shout out, Carla, love you. 3 weeks. And I remember spending Christmas at the Notre Dame right in front of it as like we hit midnight on Christmas Day. And it just felt like
Magic.
blissful. You know, I was just like, wow, like, dude, I dreamed about this. Like when I was young, my parents couldn't afford to take me anywhere on a plane.
Right.
I didn't get on my first plane till I was 18
Wow.
to New York City, which at that point I was working $5.25 an hour. That was like minimum wage, right? Damn. That's crazy. Damn. And I raised every single penny to pay for my own trip to go to New York, you know?
Hustler.
Yeah.
Since
age 16. No, but my dad, you know what? Like, he would do road trips, you know, and every time we went to Mexico, because we go, every winter, every summer, right? Mexico is the place.
The place to go.
And he would choose a new city for us to, like, visit. Because he wanted to incorporate, like, something new.
Okay.
Si fuera un santo, like the beach, whatever. So I feel like it kind of, like, was already a little bit creeping since then. And then when I took this Paris trip and I'm sitting right there in the Notre Dame, I'm like, yo, I want to keep feeling this. Like, I want to do this.
Right,
like, this is my thing. I came back from my vacation, and I remember, like, that was fall, spring was coming up. I was looking everywhere to figure out how to start these, like, study abroad. Like, how do I study abroad? What do I have to do?
Yeah.
I had, like, one semester left. So, like, by then I had already taken all my basics except for my Spanish class.
Oh, so of course you go to La Madre Patria.
I went to Spain. Yeah.
So here's one thing. You were 18, right? At that time, I grew up in my generation when I was 18. Half of, you know, the people I met, like, in high school were either married or pregnant or were their second kid. But you got to experience something completely different. And I think a lot of the times, like, not saying there's nothing wrong with having a kid at a young age. No, there's a blessing. Si viene, it's great.
Rich is like, fuck them kids, bro.
But however, like, and that's...
Nah, I'm kidding, bro. Shout out kids.
Shout out kids. and then, so one thing you got to do was something different.
Yeah.
Because you could have, like, your motive could also have been like, you know what, I want to have a family by the time I'm 24. And then to be able to experience what you're experiencing with a kid, it could be a lot harder.
Yeah.
But it's, and a lot of the times, like, say, aiming for something similar to what you were aiming for, I think we have to realize as Latinos that it's okay. And I think we're starting to realize that more and more as we grow.
For sure.
And we experience more things. And that's cool. Like, you know, like, the fact that you got to experience that at an early age with money that you saved and have a point of inflection where you were like, inflection. That's the word, right?
That's the word.
Because I've been saying words that are wrong sometimes.
Making up stuff over here.
I know. Last time I
okay.
said evading, and I was actually supposed to be invading. And
It's all good, man.
I
We're not here
always
to
just
check
tell
you.
people if I'm like saying something wrong, it's like, dude, English is my second language. Why are you correcting me? And they're like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm like, yeah, bro, watch out.
No, that's good too. That's good to hear how you got to, you know, like, got to have that in your mind. Because I'm pretty sure at that moment, if you didn't experience that, then maybe another trip in the future you got to experience it like even before you were 21, like a punto de ser, right when you were going to adulthood.
Yeah, and I think it was a lot of influence from my cousin Carla again. I remember she pulled me to the side. I think I was like 15. Pinche Carla, man. She's the one that messed me up, honestly.
Yeah, she's the one who corrupted Vicky.
She like brought me to the side one day. I was like 15, and she's like, ¿Cómo que no has salido fuera de Mesquite? Y yo, well, I've been to Mexico, San Antonio, SeaWorld. And then she's like, when I was 14, 15, she's like, yo ya me había ido a Cancún con mis amigos. I took my dad's credit card. I was like, yo.
Damn, Carla.
Okay, Carla. Well, even if I took my dad's credit card, I don't think it would have taken me very far. So that was one problem to begin with.
Una torta, un taco.
Salir, de nunca regresar. No, I could not. I could probably didn't even get on the Greyhound, to be honest. No, tampoco. I'm just kidding. But real talk, like it was like, she was like, you need to go out and just travel. Explore.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so New York. And it's funny, like, when I was 18 and I bought that ticket.
Yeah. I
actually tweeted, it was like freshman year of college. Because I think at this point, Drake.
OG Twitter.
Yeah, OG. This is why, I tried to look for this tweet. I couldn't find it. But like Drake, I think I had read that he had posted a picture of the exact house he wanted as a screensaver on his laptop. And like, he got that house in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, I'm about visuals. So
manifested something.
Posted New York City as my background in my laptop. And I live in New York City now.
Wow.
And I tweeted,
awesome.
I said, mark my words, I'm going to live in New York City one day. And I'm tweeting this as proof.
And that's your home base currently.
That's my home base.
Wow.
Before we
visualization, the power of visualization.
Yeah.
Man.
Right.
Now, before we go into, another topic, let's do something right here. What is something you feel like you can visualize yourself at the moment that, what, I want this to happen in a couple of years? It can be 5, 10, but something like, okay, this is my screenshot. This is what I want to do.
Oh, wow. I just said this a couple of, days ago, actually with Uzi.
¿Cómo se llama?
Squid Boy.
Squid Boy.
I think, if I continue what I'm doing with my new projects, I think maybe I could be in Croatia on a boat, maybe have a party, an event with the yacht, and have Diplo play. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yo, that's fire.
I see it. I see it.
Okay.
Man,
Croatia.
Shout out to that. I'm sending all my positive vibes so that can happen, dude.
Oh, amen.
That's pretty cool. That's a great visualization, and you're one of the first people that I hear that does this like visualization exercise and has made it come to fruition. I've been at other events and other family get-togethers and people make vision boards and stuff, but it's just something that people do and then just kind of put aside, and then life gets in the way.
Yeah.
But I'm great. I'm happy to hear that you're pursuing these things that you're passionate about with a lot of energy and a lot of just a lot of pride, and you're making things happen.
Yeah, trying.
Yeah.
That's good.
Nah, so on the subject of travel, like my family was kind of similar to yours in the sense that my dad and my mom would work, and they would give us what they could, so we would always travel to Mexico as well. But what kind of changed the trend for us was my sister. My sister, when she turned 15, she didn't want to do a quinceañera, which was a shock to my traditional parents. Like, what? What do you mean?
Ay, Alejandra.
The only girl?
The only girl.
Wow.
Because she's the only girl and no quinceañera. What the
Ni
hell?
un vestido?
My mom made her get the vestido to take the pictures. Because we needed to take the pictures.
I'm like, what Mexican isn't going to have that traditional quinceañera photo coming into the house?
She did the pictures. It was so hilarious because I remember the pictures because she used to be in marching band. So, like, she was in the sun all day. So, like, of course, she had, like, the craziest tan. She was looking like a Jersey Shore color.
Oh, my gosh.
Snooki.
But, I mean,
Snooki
she looked
Alejandra.
beautiful in her dress and stuff.
Aww.
But, no, she always wanted to go to Paris, too. Like, and my parents were like, all right, that's what you want. That's what we're going to give you because my parents are fucking awesome. So, like, that was our first trip as a family abroad across the pond.
Okay.
That's amazing.
And, yeah, so she was 15. At that time, I was, like, 20. So yeah, we went to Paris, we went to Madrid, and Italy and Rome. Like those 15.
Yeah.
It was like 14 days bus and like everywhere. It's kind of like one of those organized tours, which have their pros and cons. Pros in the sense that if it's your first time going, I mean, they have it all figured out. But cons because it's so constrained and you're kind of limited. You don't have that same freedom.
Yeah.
But now we'll get into some of the things that you've been up to, Vicky. So like, let's talk about the career path that you've taken. What have been some of the different phases after college and after having this travel bug?
I've been a mess. I've been all over.
A mess in a good way.
Yeah. So I guess like in between college, I was also hustling, selling books. So shout out to my book people out there.
The book people.
We're big,
the infamous book
Everybody
people.
knows a book person.
So selling books, like how? Like in what way?
Okay, all right. So have you ever had like anyone come to your door, knock in the summer, like during the summer? Because, I know you have all kinds of people come knock on your door. But in the summer, these like college looking kids show up to a stranger's house and they're like, yo, we got some books for you for like educational purposes. Do you want to study and get better grades? Do you want to help your child learn to read better or learn to read before they go to kindergarten? So like really just like a diverse selection between ages like babies to high school, prepping for college material. But this was kind of like a really intense job. Like, I mean, I woke up at like 6:59 because 1 minute earlier, I think by the end of the summer, added like a day to my schedule. So
what?
Yeah, exactly. I know, intense. 6:59, wake up, take a 15-minute cold shower because cold showers are good for you.
They wake you up.
You set you in a good mood.
I agree.
Breakfast, set my to-do list, and then I literally worked and knocked door to door from like 7:30 a.m. to like 9 p.m.
And was it commission?
It was only commission.
Su pinche madre.
A la pinche madre.
God damn.
I made money. I'm just like, I was really bad at really financing, like what to do with it. So
no, one thing I'd say about that book program is I've met several people from it, and the three that come to mind is Vicky, Donnie, and Uzi. And if you think about these people, they're super social. They don't really care. Like they'll just do something like kind of bold and out there. And I think that experience kind of helped them
in all honesty,
in a way to get to that point.
Exactly. Because you can't be afraid of rejection in this job.
Yep.
I agree. Like say when it comes to like stuff like that, I'm more of a, you know what, fine, as long as I have the base pay. But I'm not a salesperson. I can put something together and make it look, good, or give you a report and analysis or whatever. But having a sales thing is just something that you literally gotta have it in you. And
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would say, and I would kind of argue that in the sense that I do feel like it doesn't come innate to everybody. Now, I will say for me, it's a lot easier to talk to people. I think I just was like born with this like social, like it's like the sixth sense or something. I don't know. But it's not like, I think like there's some people that would work and I'm like, you don't even talk. Like you're computer science. Like, and like literally say to yourself, like, how are you killing it out there?
Yeah.
And I mean, but the job in general, like that, like just took a lot of discipline and, door to door. And that kind of sparked my sales, interest. So graduating, I was kind of like, what do I do? I really wanted to stay in Austin. But my best friend, Ray, who's impacted my life huge, he was like, yo, come work with me. He knew I sold books. Bro, you're a good salesperson. Come work with me at American Income. Like, come sell insurance with me. And I was like, oh, I kind of like don't want to do that for a career. But you know what? Let me figure out what I want with my life. In the meantime, make this cash. Well, he ended up being pretty good at it. And then I was building this office with him. Then I was like, wow, like making a lot of money in Dallas, Texas, you know? So I felt like 23-year-old, 24-year-old making about right under 100K. Amazing,
Yeah.
I was like, life is great. Parents are proud. I live downtown. Yeah. But I literally worked all the time. I worked, my schedule was literally Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to about like 10 p.m., 12 a.m. sometimes.
Shit.
And
draining.
so draining. I felt like I couldn't travel, and that's when it kind of started to hit me. I was like,
The sacrifice that you were making.
wow. I was like, I have this money, but I don't get to spend it on what I really want to spend it on, right? And I think it kind of really hit me one day when, and a lot of the time, the reasons, like, you don't have to have that intense hours. Like, there was people who worked only evenings. There was people who only worked like certain days. But I'm also that kind of person that gives it all, So like
once you're in,
I'm in, I wanna like be top. I wanna grow this office. I wanna be manager, open another one. So that was my vision, right? And I won this award. We had like this award, like the winner won like a New Orleans trip for 2. And I was like, I'm gonna win that shit. I'm gonna win it. And I won it. And I was like, I'm going to New Orleans, like Mardi Gras, like this is gonna be cool. And then I was like, okay, so can I take the time off for this trip? I'm excited. Yeah. When am I gonna take it? And my boss kind of was never giving it to me. Like, it was like, oh, you can't during this time because you have these 2 people that you got to train. You can't during this time because it's, end of the quarter. We got to get these numbers.
Bad boss.
So
a boss that
you
holds
you
you
go
back.
yeah, you
It's
go
horrible.
from you winning something for their company to like, yes, you won this thing, but you can't do it because you have all this stuff. Like, no, motherfucker, like I helped you get your like you're winning. Now you gotta let me enjoy what I won.
And you know what? It's not necessarily like I got his concept in the sense that like, you know what, Victoria, work. And then like at age 30 or age 40, like you can live more luxuriously. And, it makes sense, right? Like, I mean, I look at my best friend, right? He's still doing it, right? And he's made it. Like, financially super well off, invested his money, has properties, and now takes a bunch of time off. So, okay, that could have been my life. But one thing I've learned, too, is life is too precious and short.
Yes.
What if, God forbid, right? Like, I didn't make it to 30.
Yeah.
And I spent my entire 20s, like, working so hard to something I never even reached,
You don't take anything.
Yeah. So it kind of dawned on me. Yeah. And I started reading the book, You Are a Badass. Because then at that point, I was 25. I remember I was going through really rough, like, downtime in my life because I was like, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. I don't know what to do at this point. I don't feel like I've gained a skill. Like, am I kind of a fuck up? Like, my parents' pressure is still there. My sisters are going to college. It was just like a lot. And I do remember just being really down on my life and myself. And I was reading that book, and there was this one chapter 2, and it was like, you can continue to do the same things over and over again, and you're going to continue to get the same results. You can spice things up, make a change in your life, and do something different. And
was that, like, say the pressure you felt, was it something that you felt for your own, or was something that you felt from someone else?
I think it was more like, I think kind of goes back to what we said earlier, like this touch of like, I'm the oldest. I got a full ride scholarship to UT. I was able to like leave my house at 18. Like, these expectations for me to be this successful business, or
the expectations are huge.
Yeah, it's
and
just like
it kind of like you can feel the weight of them a little bit.
And we love our parents so much. I mean, like, we go back to talk about like them crossing over and not knowing the language and still being able to like give you a house, give you like nothing to worry about. You always had food on your table, and like, it's like, dang, this is worth like
the last thing you want to do is to let them
disappoint.
down.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a really hard time. And I mean, but after I was reading that book, I pulled out my laptop and I was like, I'm applying to be a flight attendant.
Hell yeah.
I will.
I was like, you know what? I don't know if this is going to work out. It may just be temporary.
Yeah.
And I actually applied for 2 companies. It's funny. I applied for Spirit.
Hey,
I applied for Spirit.
You gotta shoot.
You know what?
You gotta shoot shots.
I mean, you start somewhere and de ahí para arriba.
But and I applied because one of my sorority sisters was a full-time teacher during the year, and she was a flight attendant in the summer.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, okay, they have flexibility like that. So I knew I wanted to start a business. So I was looking for something with flexibility. So I was like, oh, this could maybe work. It'll give me that travel bug. And then I'll be able to like move forward to the next part of my life.
Great. That's awesome. So You Are a Badass, influential book, tension growing in that previous career, workplace that you had. So you apply to be a flight attendant. So
Yeah.
where do you land?
I got both of the companies. I applied at. I won't say who I'm hiring and work for, just because like to keep it clean.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
But I do work for one of the major airlines at the U.S. and I landed both jobs. I was actually in the middle of training with Spirit when I got the offer for the face-to-face with my company now.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I could either finish training and be a flight attendant for sure because I'm hired, right? I'm training right now. Or I can go to this face-to-face interview, risk not getting the job, and now I'm not a flight attendant. And I was like, but the company is so much better.
Let's roll the dice.
Right.
Let's do
And
it.
I was like, if there's anything I am, I'm a risk taker.
Hey.
Let's go. So I did it, and when I got the job, I cried because I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna do this."
That's
So,
awesome.
during the flight attendant, becoming a flight attendant process, you went to training. Was it how long was the training, or something that like say you go in there and then the next day you go on a flight and you train, you just watch people because like similar to like I don't know a waiter job where you
So
shadow someone.
yeah, exactly. I was training for Spirit for a month because I was almost graduating by the time I decided to dip. And then I trained for 2 months with Delta. And then after that, they just kind of like, you have one OE, which is like basically just shadowing a flight attendant, looking at how they do it. And then you're off to your first day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. So talk to me about once you became a flight attendant, it opened those doors for travel to you. What were those? What was that like? What were your experiences like as a flight attendant during those early experiences?
Yeah. So when I became a flight attendant, first of all, we don't make a lot of money starting off. So I was like literally living on my cousin's couch. Carla, once again, there she is.
Man, Carla is really coming through, man.
3 times.
Honestly, I owe a lot to the person I am and my lifestyle to her.
Hey,
you know,
shout out, Carla. Salute to you.
yeah, she's actually in Mexico right now, traveling again. Anyways.
Esa Carla.
Esa Carla. Can't stop her, just like you can't stop me. So, so I was living on my cousin's couch because I was like, why am I going to get a hotel or a house? I literally live out of my suitcase right now. Because when you start, they got you rolling. You're working flights like 3 days, you're traveling, you're back for a night, but then you work again in the morning. And it's just like, I literally spent like maybe 2 to 3 days in New York.
It's like that scene from Fight Club where he keeps taking those flights and he doesn't know what time of day it is and what's happening, what day it is on the calendar.
He's gonna make sure you're in this place at this time.
It'd be like that. It really be like that. So like people, when the gate agent opens the door sometimes and they're like, where is this plane coming from? I'm like, and then everyone behind me, Kentucky. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Louisville. I don't know. That's not memorable. You know, it's like random cities, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Hey, he's like, you're like, I don't care where he came from. I don't care where we're going.
Yeah, exactly, right? Or like, I've had the time where like I'm always at the hotel, so like I'm like, oh my, I forgot my room number. Shit, what floor am I on? So like, I'll go to the floor I'm on, and I'm like, with my key, I'm like, no.
You're trying out all those fucking doors.
You're like,
oh man.
No, I mean, it's a crazy lifestyle. It is. I
is.
will say it's not normal for sure. But when I first started, I was just really anxious to get back, like to that travel, you know, like, and for some reason, it's funny because like even before then, I was still like, I'm slinging insurance for 4 years. And then people were still asking me like, do you have any recommendations in LA? Do you have any recommendations here? And I was like, oh, I haven't traveled in a while, you know? But people still saw me as that like
Vicky the travel guru.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I got to get back out and discover new places. So I made it a point to set my schedule. Since I didn't really have an apartment in New York, I would like work 3 weeks, take 4 to 10 days off every month, and then I would just go to a new country.
Okay.
Dang.
Just explore it. Yeah.
In the new country, the travel part, getting there, was it something that the airline you work for was paid for, or something that you paid your own?
As a flight attendant, we get to fly, how they call it, like non-revving. So essentially, you put yourself on the list to go to a destination, and if there's open seats, then they go in order for like whoever's listed, seniority. So yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah, like I don't have to pay. The only thing we do pay internationally are like taxes.
Okay.
But I mean, these flights are like sometimes $2,000.
It's a steal, yeah.
And if I want to go and have lunch in Barcelona tomorrow and be back by like Saturday evening, I totally can.
Damn. That's
So it's a little cheating in this lavish life, but I'll take it.
Hey, but you know what? There's a paved trail you had to walk through in order for you to get there. So
Yeah. Yep. And like I said, like I traveled every month, to new country, and I started curating my Instagram around that, which is like VicksAdventure was already my brand name before I became a flight attendant. And then it just made more sense as I was a flight attendant.
Yeah.
You know, and I would blog about it. I would post these stories. And, you know, like it was just amazing to be able to experience these things, meet new people while I'm traveling, and continue that relationship. I mean, yeah, it was a great time.
what was the first place you went to travel to as, you finally decided, okay, I'm going to work this amount of times a month and then take this amount of time off? What was the first place that you got to hit up and like, all right, let's go here?
Colombia.
Ooh, venga,
Arepas.
Colombia.
Para las
Arepas.
arepas.
Hey, we have some Colombian listeners out there, man, and I'm sure they're
Arepas y
really
la
happy to
bandeja
hear
paisa.
that.
Exactamente.
They're really happy to hear that. So that's awesome that you went to Colombia. And if you could talk to us a little bit about some of the more memorable places that you went to that kind of really impacted you.
Yeah, well, Colombia was amazing because it kind of like reinstated that like travel bug in me, right? I was like, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing, traveling. And another memorable place that I feel like really impacted me was Peru.
Okay.
And it's actually funny, when I was in Colombia, I met this really cool chick at this random cigar bar, and she was like, I'm from LA. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm from Texas. Are you Mexican? She's like, yeah. I was like, we clicked right away.
Yeah.
And till now, we've traveled to 4 countries together.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When you're out and about and doing your own thing, the people that you meet, when you put yourself out there,
Right.
you're kind of vulnerable. You're like trying to just make the best out of the day. They can have such an impact on your life.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, like I said, like, it's crazy. Like when you meet people when you're traveling, it's like a different type of like connection.
Right.
And they become almost like instant family.
Right.
You know?
And really, this is just a theory. This is what I think it is. In our cities where we work, we're so bogged down by the stresses of life, by the bills, by the deadlines, by this. But when we travel, those things are a weight off of our shoulders. So you're like your soul is like completely open to have these bonds, to have these connections.
Yeah.
So you're so like, I can think of so many people that I've met traveling that I still talk to this day.
Yeah.
And have made plans with and have made meetups when it's been possible. So that's cool to hear that.
I think like say for me, when it comes to traveling, I'm more of I can only go for a certain amount of days because I'm always like by the 3rd day I'm like, hey, wait, I gotta get back in the
hustle
thing.
mode.
Es que tiene el movimiento. He's
Yeah,
like, I have
Rich is
things
a
to
hustler,
do.
man.
We went to Hawaii in early this year, and that's where the reason why I got the shirt is because we were gonna go there. We were gonna have a luau.
He's like, I know
dinner.
Victoria was gonna come on podcast. And we would have something appropriate.
We had to
And
make
then,
it live.
Yeah, and then but because it was so calm and so relaxed, which is cool, but it's kind of like a place where people go relax and things. But I'm more like, I want to go travel, pero donde haya trancazos, donde haya despapalle, donde haya, you go up and down.
Yeah.
And like, we were at Hilo and in a big island, man, it just felt like so calm, but it was like not my thing. But we went to Maui.
Hey,
Yeah.
es chilango, es
Yeah, we
chilango,
went
ya
to
sabes.
Maui. It was like más ciudad, más gente, más ambiente.
You like the busyness.
I like the business, and it's like I think I noticed that for myself. Is if I ever travel, if I travel, it has to be where donde haya más gente, donde haya.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's interesting you say that because I think what the places people like to travel and recommend really tells you a lot about who they are.
Yeah.
Because recently, I went to Chicago and my Uber driver, he was this guy from, I believe, Turkey. And I was telling him about some of the places I've been, and he was telling me where he's from. And I was like, dude, one of my favorite places.
You didn't take the metro?
Nah.
Che fresa.
He's fancy.
No, it's because
Hombre, vato, en el metro.
it's because I was traveling on my wife's dime. She expensed it to her company or something. All right, fuck it, I'll do it.
Give me that $100 Uber ride.
Hey, man.
Actually, I'll take the Uber helicopter.
Yeah,
Let's go,
give me
baby.
the luxury. Give me the luxury.
Let's
So
see.
now this guy picks me up super quick, and we're vibing, talking about countries we've been to, And I've been like, one of the best places I've ever been to is Morocco. I love Morocco. I love the food. The culture was so different. The things that you saw in the plaza, like the amount of different animals and ways of moving and foods, it was incredible. And he's like, if you like that, you should go to Dubai. Dubai is amazing. You see so many Lamborghinis. It's crazy. You see people with lions. I'm like, huh? That's not really what I was going for.
He's like, bro, you want to spend money?
Where you're going.
Let's go over here.
That tells me about you. Like, that tells me that.
Yeah.
And after I get to know him, he's like, he likes the luxury. He was telling me about his taxi business and how, like, he has, like, many cars. And
Yo, my neighbor's a taxi driver, and they have this garage. It's so secret. And one time I was walking by, 2 Lambos.
Yes.
Like,
so,
yo, what? You don't need my tip, bro?
dude, no.
Inflation?
No, but seriously, like, so what I learned from this taxi guy, and I don't want to generalize, but he's into that luxury stuff, because he was talking about nice cars, going to Dubai, and he was telling me about, like, all the badass places he's been to, but on the luxurious level. So I'm like, hey, man, we're talking about the same thing, but the different thing at the same time.
Speaking of nice things in life, man, what do you think about the Hop Squad's new mango seltzer?
Oh, my gosh.
It's actually really good.
It's delicious. So this is Mango's best friend, Mango Seltzer, 5.2% alcohol.
How much sugar?
Me vale.
Nah, that's a good question, man. Diabetes runs in my family, but I mean, we're gonna let it slide because it's so delicious. And salud to Hop Squad.
Salud.
Local,
they're our friends.
a local brewery.
Nice.
Yes.
Nah, but yeah, definitely gotta support our local breweries, man. More better than Hop Squad right down the street. But nah, dude, what were we talking about?
We were talking about you, Dubai, going there, and then you blaming off your wife's company.
Basically, you're saying you're a stay-at-home dad, and like, you know, well, no, maybe not just dad yet, but you know,
that is my dream.
Chicken dad.
To be just at home.
Weren't we just talking about like how it should be gender neutral, like very much like even out? Okay. I see where you're going with all this. No, I know.
Nah, it's a joke.
He's gonna play this for his wife tonight.
It's a joke that I have with my wife. I'm like, man, because she's super ambitious. She's always like trying to like go above and beyond what she's doing. So I'm like, I'm cool being a sugar. You know, you being my sugar mama, I'll be keeping the house clean, making you lunches. You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's funny you say that because like sometimes like we as we go busy with our dates and we're always like, as somebody, I don't have time to cook. I try. It would be so nice to come home to a clean apartment, my clean room, and like a nice cooked dinner. Okay, let's sell it. Maybe, yeah.
Sounds like
I'll
you're
be
looking
into
for
the
like a chef, somebody with some culinary and domestic skills. Any viewers out there?
Hey, man, but I got to live up to expectations. Though.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm not home 6 days out of the week.
You gotta be cool with the lifestyle. So yeah, talk to us about that lifestyle. I know as a flight attendant, you could probably see like a lot of crazy shit. You probably see a lot of things that maybe we as like just regular travelers like don't get to see. You know, talk to us about some of the do's and don'ts. Some of the hacks, some of the things that maybe we could be a little bit better about. As
passengers?
Exactly.
Wow, I could sit here for like hours.
Yeah, that's another episode.
Actually, stay here for part 2.
Part 2?
No, but yeah, I guess as a lifestyle, I think flight attendants, you know, people forget we're human, you know, and that we're 30,000 feet in the air, limited literally on everything. And during COVID, it's funny, like I was traveling so much and I was just like, you know, whatever. And COVID hits. So everybody took like 5 steps back. And was like, wow, we have to be more respectful, conscious, and
less caring.
I mean, I had 2 passengers for flight, so it was really easy, right? But no, in reality, like once people started flying a little bit more, you got a lot of thank yous. People were very nice. And you do get passengers that are amazing. Yeah. One of my favorite things that I love about my job is that I do get to meet people from all over the world, you know, and being able to pour a Diet Coke, guys, believe this or not, it takes like 20 minutes to fill up. So don't order a Diet Coke or Coke Zero.
Oh, really? They have more fizz.
It's such a long, because we're in such high altitude, it takes forever. So like while I'm sitting there pouring, I was like, so what's taking you to St. Thomas? You know, it's like, the hardest part of our job is pouring a Diet Coke and Coke Zero, to be honest.
That's crazy. I had no idea.
But it's cool, like some, you know, and it is hard, especially if you're working main cabin, to get in touch with everybody, right? But when I'm working first class and I'm sitting with these like cool passengers, I mean, I've had celebrities, and it's nice to kind of talk to them and like, what do you do? Especially me, who's like an entrepreneur and wants to excel. I find this as a time to like dive in and, you know, ask questions and reconnect. But yeah, as you're boarding the flight, like I do like always tell people, be mindful. You could be boarding a flight with with the flight attendant who's been on her 4th flight that day, you know, and who hasn't seen maybe her kids in like 3 days, or, you know, woke up at 3 a.m. Like waking up when you're going to bed, right? And it's that like whole mentality that flight attendants are like supposed to be this cute girl or boy on the, you know, card and at your service. You know, we're actually there for your protection. Like if this plane is coming down, I'm evacuating the shit in 60 seconds. So
you gotta come with me. Be ready, man.
I will leave you. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I won't leave you. But I think that the passengers do easily forget that like please and thank you go a very far way. You know, you know, ringing the call light is really like useful. Don't tap us if you see us passing by and you need it.
Yeah, the tapping.
I hate.
Yeah, it's just
I hate that.
Or
like
tapping, snapping, any of that shit.
Excuse me.
No,
None of
that's
that. Like I hate people like snapping fingers at anyone. Like,
yeah, it's so disrespectful. But you know, I've also learned, you know, a lot of times people, and this has come with the travel too, right? People don't mean it in a bad way. It has to do with cultural differences.
True.
Right.
And that's something that I try to remind myself when I'm boarding certain flights in certain cultures, certain countries, where they're not, you know, on the same.
Well, even like say, for example, in Spain, I listen to a lot of podcasts in Mexico and how they say, like, say when a guy from Spain comes to Mexico, and usually when you go to La Condesa, the comedians or the person I listen to, they're a lot more respectful to the person that's working, because they also work in the service industry, serving the community by, you know, making them laugh. But they say, like, sometimes we bring someone from Spain and they're like, hey, tráeme la comida. And they're like, hey, you have to be nicer. No, pero es trabajo que me traiga la comida porque jaripollas, voy a morir de hambre. And then it's like one of those things that, like, say it's a true thing. And then he realized that, yeah, but that's good. But, you know, you also have to understand that, you know, it's the service that, you know, it is not up to them when that food comes out. It's up to when, you know, it comes ready after a sequence of orders that are being, you know, brought in. And that makes sense, because a lot of the times we forget, you know.
Yeah.
We think, like, say, when in the service industry, we think of, like, you know, you have to be respectful to the service person. But also some people just, they don't know.
Right. Or they weren't raised in that certain mindset. Like, I think it's funny because, like, every time people work a Mexico flight, and this isn't to toot our own horn, pero los mexicanos, I mean, growing up, if I didn't say mande, gracias, por favor, era como que, you know, like, you're in trouble. Like, that's bad.
You're fucking up.
So, like, it's so easy for when you work a flight in Mexico, even if they're, like, fresitas, like, disculpa, ¿tiene una de las aguas con burbujas, por favor? It's always por favor, though.
That's why we are Otra, por favor. Because, you know, we're respectful.
Yeah.
We want to hear more of
Pero
that.
pásame otra, pero por
pásame
favor.
otra.
Pero por favor. Exactly. My point proven. So, yeah, it's very, like, culturally different. And you, as a flight attendant, you do have to keep that in mind. And as a passenger, it is, you know, you keep in mind that this could be a very long day for a flight attendant.
For sure. And after pretty much all the episodes that we've done, Richie likes to sign off with Pórtate bien.
Yes.
This is what he's talking about right here. You got to respect.
Bien.
You got to respect people in the service industry, people that are working for you for your safety. Yeah. I mean, that's something that we could all improve on, I think, in one way or another.
Right.
Because this is one thing that I see a lot in travel. People are complaining and just being whiny and just being so disrespectful. Like, first world problems, like, oh, it's delayed. How could this happen? They're mad.
I've been waiting for 20 minutes.
They're
How dare
angry.
you?
And I'm like, dude, you're about to get on this, like, piece of metal in the fucking sky that is a...
It's kind of phenomenal that we could do
that. It's an engineering miracle that, it's in the air. You're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, the world is connected. What a fucking privilege to live in the time we're living in.
You
you're complaining about a flight that got pushed 1 hour?
So I have a funny story. In 2017, I was going to Vegas, and I was my concuño tree. We were in a plane. He's like, hey, let me know when you're boarding, and like, cool. And I told him like, hey, the flight is late for an hour and 30 minutes. Like, no worries. And I'm like, well, time to drink.
Yeah,
I need to come ready.
Mandatory airport beer, $16.
Exactly.
So everybody. So we were waiting there, and then, but I was in a group of people, and they were all like in a pool team, like and they were all, hey, you want a shot? And I'm like, I'll take a shot, and I brought them around, and everyone was not mad because everybody was pretty tipsy by the time. Like they said, hey, sorry about like the delay. We're gonna try to get you guys a new airplane. So that happened. We finally get an airplane like an hour and 30 minutes later. I'm cool. I'm like, I'm not in no rush. I'm going to Vegas, whatever. Everything closes late anyways. And then it was cool because the flight attendant, she sees us walking in, and she's all saying hi to everybody, like, man, you guys are having a great time. And then
we always know Vegas is trouble.
Yeah.
We love it.
So that happened, and then whenever they were doing the instructions before the pre-flight instructions, she was like, all right, guys, I just need your attention for 2 minutes, and then you can do whatever you want, as long as it's legal. And everybody was like, yeah, okay. And everybody actually paid attention like this, like, okay. Like when she's talking about the oxygen mask and talking about the life vest, and we're like, okay.
No.
Okay, now I'm done. And everybody's like, yeah. And everybody started clapping. And for me, it was like a pretty cool moment. Like
it is a cool flight. Like Vegas you have a cool crowd.
Yeah, for sure.
Because everyone's looking forward to just being blasted the entire weekend. Yeah. So it's like, you're not going to be mad about it. Now, had you been going to West Palm Beach, all the flight attendants, if you're listening to this, everybody knows what I'm talking about. It would have not been that.
Yeah.
What did we get out of a West Palm Beach flight?
Excuse me. Wait, you're delaying my flight? Yeah, there's weather coming. Well, can you do something about that?
Can you fix that?
Can you mix the?
Can you
can you
I need
Photoshop
you to
the
call
clouds?
Zeus, tell him to slow the tides so that the weather cooperates and no tornado is coming, please.
Oh man,
Gotta love but we know your routes. Like we know our routes. You know what I mean? It's a cliche. It's a stereotype.
True.
You gotta love Karens.
You gotta love. Yeah. Didn't want to be the one to say it.
I'll say it for you to make you say face. Karens, come at me. We could talk about it. No, that's awesome. Like different expectations, different flights, different experiences. So you start traveling. You start really kind of documenting a lot of this stuff in your socials. You have a blog, right, where you kind of talk about the different places that you visited, tips and tricks or whatever. So it seems like you really want to share that travel bug with others, especially, coming as first-gen Latinos, and, maybe immigrants to this country. Mm-hmm. Travel is a luxury that maybe we didn't have growing up. We kind of all spoke on that a little bit. Yeah. Why is it important for people to travel, especially Latinos, to see new places?
I think it's like just kind of part of like identifying yourself, like being proud of your culture. And I don't know, I'm really big on like, especially showing like my cousins, like this is what you can do, kind of almost like what Carla did for me to others.
Nice.
Right? I don't think, some people don't like to travel, and that's totally fine. Like everyone has their hobbies, everyone has their things to do. But I do believe that traveling is one, if not the best teacher in the world, because you learn so much from seeing people that are so different. You learn so much from different cultures, mannerisms, just how to identify and communicate with each other. And so Latinos, especially like this first generation, because there are Latinos that travel. There's definitely those really high end in Mexico that get to travel the world. But there's something about, remember that phrase? And you guys have probably talked about this before in the movie Selena. O sea, as a Mexican, tienes que saber quién es Pancho Villa, tienes que saber quién es Fox, tienes que saber todo lo que está pasando en Mexico.
Okay.
But you're also American, so you have to know who Martin Luther King is, you have to know who Abraham Lincoln. And when you go to your family in Mexico, right, it's like, oh, well, you're American, right? As many times as I tell people I'm Mexican when I'm traveling, and they're like, oh, where are you from? And I was like, oh, my dad's in Zacatecas and mom's from Querétaro. So where were you born? I was like, Dallas. And they're like, oh, so you're American. I'm like, well, I mean.
Sí, pero no, güey.
Sí, pero no, más o menos. And then the same thing with Americans, right? You're not really American because we look different and because we have this language as a second language, whatever the case. So it's kind of like we have our own little group of people that we kind of have to look out for, like our own little like brand. And I want people to know that this is so doable. And even if it's your one vacation a month, a year, that make it worth it. Save the trouble, figure out like what's the best destination for you. Like you said, like everyone kind of has their own way of like, you want to be in a busy city, maybe you want to be on the beach and relax more. And like I kind of wanted to be that person that like save the time and give you that like hope that it would work.
Since you touched on Latinos and traveling, I did want to ask, how has your Latinidad, how has it helped you when you travel, or also how has it made things maybe difficult or a little bit challenging when you traveled?
Definitely learning Spanish.
Yeah.
I think it's like Spanish. Don't quote me on this. I'm just speaking out of like what people have told me. I don't think I've actually looked this up. But I think Spanish is the second most spoken language in the world. The first is Mandarin. Mm-hmm. And then I believe it's Spanish. So traveling, even like people who went to Brazil.
Portuguese is very similar.
Very similar.
Eu me chamo Jorge.
Shout
out to Marina and all my Brazilian friends out there.
Hi Marina, I love you. Yeah.
Also part of the Uzi universe.
Eu no falo portugués, pero entiendo un poquito. No, so I think the language primarily has been super helpful. And it's kind of cool. Like, growing up, you were like, no eres tanto español, right? Because you wanted to fit in, or it was kind of like looked down upon. I think it's different now. I think people are growing up and
you're
Spanish
appreciating
is cool.
the Spanish part more.
Antes, it was kind of like you don't speak, right? And so, like, it's cool now to be able to travel and be like, oh, I'll translate. I got this.
Yeah, for sure.
And creating relationships with people in Spain and Colombia, Panama, and like, even other travelers, And so, number one, Spanish. I think number two, like being cultured, Like I said earlier, I was like, everyone loves Mexicans. Seriously, like everybody loves Mexicans. There's never been a time where like I've gone somewhere, said I'm Mexican, and then they're like, oh no, But it's always like la fiesta, and it's like, tell me about this. They're just excited. People get so excited.
They wouldn't vibe. They wouldn't vibe
of
the Mexican.
I love Cancun. Like, I'm like, okay, very entertaining, but okay, I love it too.
There's something like say you're traveling as a person that grew up here in the States. You were born here in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were born in the States, but then you come from a Mexican background.
Yeah.
You have two worlds, like two different worlds under your I would say in your weaponry or your repertoire with cultures. One where, like say it's you coming in, so whenever you go, you can kind of switch up in whatever scenario they need it. Whatever you need to be someone from the States or someone from Mexico, and that's a valuable part that we have as Latinos or Mexican Americans or Mexicans that that we're here, because we can somehow like the way we come out to people is just like, wait, so you're Mexican, but then you're American. How does that work out?
The power of duality.
The power of duality. It brings something different to the table.
Yeah, you're right.
It brings something. A lot of people would be like, oh, because, and then people kind of notice, and then from what they hear in the news about immigration and everything, they kind of relate to your Mexicanism, even though you're coming in from the States.
Yeah.
And they're going to appreciate your story more than, if it were just, nothing wrong with just being an American, but
right.
They're going to be like, oh, man, I can relate to this person. And
or it can be me one day or something, right? When you're like traveling to people who aspire to come to America. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny because I remember the first time that subject was kind of brought up. I was in Spain traveling abroad, and I was taking a bus down. I don't remember where I was going. But this girl was like, oh, tu español está muy bien. ¿De dónde vienes? I was like, oh, soy de América, pero mis papás son mexicanos. Mm-hmm. Pero ¿cómo así? Mis papás nacieron en México, pero vinieron a Estados Unidos. Pero soy Mexican American. Yo le dije, I'm like a Mexican American. And he said, no, I think you're just American. And I was like, wait, am I? And I was like, I guess so, technically speaking,
right.
yeah, well, I am.
That's the thing. So, like, I know that in many countries, I think France is like this. Mm-hmm. In France, a lot of people have dual nationalities. A lot of people from Africa, for instance. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But in France, people fully consider themselves French.
Mm. Right.
They're not Senegalese French
They're just
or
French.
Kenyan French. They're
Right.
French.
Yep.
So it's different.
And
a
it's kind of
country
like
basis.
it kind of like got me to think about the fact that like I was like, why does in America do we have to point out our differences, right?
Right.
Because you, like you said, you go to France and you can see a black person, a brown person, somebody with blue eyes, gray eyes, yellow eyes, and it doesn't matter, you're French. Like there's no question about it if a black person says I'm French, and they're like, okay, cool. Like, but here, like you see, if I get asked, oh, what are you? I'm like, oh, I'm American. But like, where are you from?
That's like literally one of the worst questions in the world. Like people are like, hey, so where are you from? Oh, I'm from Houston, Texas. Okay, but where are you really from?
Right.
Like,
it's like,
I was born in fucking Lyndon B. Johnson Hospital, motherfucker. I'm from
yeah, like, do you want to see? Actually, my birth certificate says I'm white, so I could argue this. I'm probably more whiter than you. No, but in us, why does that have to be a thing here, right? And so now when I travel, I do like prefer to say I'm Mexican though. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit more juicy. I feel like it's a little bit just cooler in a sense.
Brings different vibes.
Sabe a mole, sabe a pozole, sabe a menudo.
Ándale, sabe a
Esta
berria.
güey es exótica.
Sabe el pastor, pero del torta de milanesa.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for some reason, and no offense, like I love the U.S., right? But like if I'm like, I'm American, they're like, oh.
Oh, so you're boring and where's
Right.
the culture?
Seasoning, burgers, yeah, cool.
The only seasoning you get is like barbecue.
I even like talking about cities. It's like all we're known for is like Vegas, New York City, LA, and Miami for like international purposes, right? So it's like, but Mexico has all this stuff, you know? It's like, I'm Mexican.
That's actually one thing I wanted you to touch on. So I have a lot of friends, a lot of Anglo friends that I work with, and a lot of them like to travel, but they're always traveling in the States. They're going to Mississippi, Alabama, Atlanta, like anywhere in the States, which is fine. It's good. That's what they're comfortable in. That's what they like. And every time I mention Mexico, they're like, wow, that sounds amazing. Like everything you're saying sounds amazing, but I don't know, like me going down there. So like everyone, certain people like have this image of what Mexico is from what they see in the sensationalist media. And of course, like every country, there are places places that are you don't want to be in.
Bro, have you gone to the Bronx?
The Bronx?
Yeah.
Have you been to East Texas?
South Dallas?
To any of these sunset towns where like if you're of like not white, you don't want to be around there.
Tyler, Texas.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like
Tyler.
There's places in the States that you don't want to go in certain areas.
Right.
So like for them to say, I don't know, man, Mexico's kind of dangerous and like I'm kind of scared. Like for me, it's kind of like you're being a little ignorant by not doing your research and like giving Mexico a shot. Because when people go there, they fall in love with it.
Yeah, every time. I've never met someone who went to Mexico and said I absolutely had a worse time. Never.
Only of the hangover, la pinche cruda. But I mean, you have enough
you
stuff
normally
to
kind of like wake up, get a michelada, so it goes away. So I feel like the cruda comes like really when you come back to the States.
Yeah.
You're like, God damn it, I should just go back to Mexico.
This is in Mexico, le sigues la
Exacto,
peda. Like
exacto.
you don't let the hangover hit. Like right when the hangover's hitting, you're like
Una michelada, por favor.
jumping back into this thing.
Como que, güey, ¿sabes qué? Con eso se te quita. Bueno.
¿Sabes qué? Un pinche menudo bien, pinche
¿Cómo se
picoso.
llama? What is it called in Spanish? The oh my God, it's that stuff that we take the next day for crudo, like to hydrate us.
Coca.
Oh,
No.
Pedialyte.
Pedialyte.
Oh my God, it's funny because like at the Walmart by my house in Dallas, the Pedialyte is in the international sales aisle. I'm like, yo, this is actually an American brand, but sure, we'll take it.
Pedialyte.
Pedialyte.
Damn.
No, but you're right. Like, and I think it goes the same for a lot of countries besides Mexico, like a lot of Latin American countries.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, and that's another cool thing about like having had moved to New York City. I grew up in I thought diversity back when I lived in Texas meant Black, white, Asian, and Mexican. Right? Because we're all different. Ooh, we're diverse. Then I went to New York City.
Right.
And I would never forget, I'm walking down the like escalators, you know, to pick up my bag from baggage claims. And I hear two women walking by. Oye, pero que lo que? ¿Qué lo que? ¿Cómo que el tipo se va para?
Ya sabes por qué.
And I'm like, it sounds like I know what they're saying, but I don't know if I know what they're saying, you know? And it was like an automatic like culture shock because it was Spanish, but I didn't understand it, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, what kind of Spanish is this? And then I realized like, I mean, there may not be a huge Mexican like community in New York, but tenemos colombianos, tenemos like Nicaragueños, Boricuas, like Dominicanos. My God, they own New York. Really, they own New York.
For real?
Yeah. So like, say when it comes to like say meeting another person that speaks Spanish, but they're from another like nationality. Back in the early 2000s, it was like a thing where for Mexicans, everything was wrong with them. Like there was this stigma about negativity from anyone that was not Mexican. Over time, we kind of healed it as we banded together. We will realize like, hey, we're in the same situation. There's no need to fight over who's better or worse. Yeah. But now I believe we embrace the culture because every time I speak to someone that's Dominicano, Puerto Riqueño, Colombiano, I tell them, hey, soy Mexicano. Que pedo, güey, no mames. And then like say, like I have one of my, and I started realizing that in like early 2010. I started working with one of my coworkers. She's from Venezuela, but I always call you Chamo. She's like, ay, Chamo. So then every time I see a Venezuelan, I'm always like, hey, Chama, hey, Chamo. So they know me as a Mexican that calls him Chamo. Yeah. And it's pretty cool because then we get to learn about the language. We get to learn about the culture. And we get to realize how similar we are.
Very much. And how rich we are in our differences and similarities. Yeah.
And I think that goes back to saying, like, why should we travel as Latinos and in general people? Like, now look at that. You're able to connect with somebody instantly. Yeah. Right? We're like, those things you don't learn in a book. You don't learn from, like, you know, watching YouTubes. You get that from experience, right? And being able to connect with people like that is just, like, an immense skill.
Yeah, in my head right now, this whole conversation, I hear that Nina Sky song. Boricua,
Morena, Dominicano, Colombiano.
That was back in the day.
That was a fucking jam right there.
Hey, Daddy Yankee coming out.
Daddy Yankee's about to do his last world tour. Like,
hey, man, don't tell it to my wife, dude. Like, she'll be there, like, no matter what.
Tickets already sold out, bro.
We're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to fight somebody to be there.
Or we can reach out to people and be like, hey, you know what?
¿Sabes qué?
We can do something.
No, that's awesome. So, Vicky, thank you for sharing all these amazing things, all these amazing tips and like experiences. But every time I look at your socials, you're in a different part of the world, and it's fucking amazing. But at the same time, I'm like, wow. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing in Austin right now? Like, what brings you to Austin, Texas?
Glad you asked. So I am in Austin because I decided to throw an event. So kind of like I decided to brand VicksAdventure. So VicksAdventure LLC. And decided to do things with my brand. And that one of them is being Xcapé Events. So I created Xcapé Events during COVID, actually. Funny story. So again, remember I said people reach out to me to plan trips. During some time when I was starting as a flight attendant, I found myself in Miami quite often. So I have one of my friends calls me. He's like, hey, I'm turning 30. Actually, a year ago from today or like last week. He's like, can you help me plan a weekend in Miami? I was like, I got you, bro. I know all the inside. So I planned everything from brunch to bottle service to booking a really cool yacht party for him. So in Miami, FYI, if you ever want to have like a boat party with more than 12 people, you have to get a boat that's like licensed to do some Navy kind of skill, whatever. It's not allowed to have more than like 12 to 13 people in
It's
boat.
because of their proximity to Cuba, right? Or something
like that. Yeah. So I had to like do my research. So I was in there like planning this weekend, right? I got COVID.
Oof.
And my last day to quarantine was the day of the boat party. And I was like, God dang it, like it's the last, like it's my summer vacation. What a way to go out with a bam. Although FYI kind of worked out because like, did you know that Miami summers suck? Just letting you know it's always rainy.
I went there in the summer. My sister worked there like a couple of years ago, and I thought it was going to be this amazing thing. And it was, but it was very cloudy. Very much raining, very much cloudy.
Yeah, it was like one of those things.
True beach day.
Exactly. So I didn't really know that until that happened. But anyways, but the point is, all my friends were gonna be there. All these people were flying in, and so I was really, really bummed out. I got really cool with a guy who also does these boat parties in Miami or like yacht rentals. So I just thought to myself, I was like, what if I throw a boat party myself? I have a bunch of flight attendant friends. We don't pay for flights. We'll fly in the day off, and then we'll fly out the next day. We only have to, we'll share rooms, whatever. And I put out a poll on my Instagram. It's like, is anyone interested in doing a boat party? End of the summer boat party. Anyone interested? September 17th. And I got a lot of like feedback. People were like, down, like flight attendants. Yes, let's do it. And I want to incorporate like an open bar. So I took the cost of the yacht and I took the cost of the alcohol and I divided it by the capacity, which was 35. Tickets were $150. So I was like, okay, let's see if this works. And I sold tickets, except for like the first 10 people who bought were not flight attendants. And I was like, oh shit. Like, okay, these were friends that are just one excited. Of them being the girl who I met in Colombia. And I was like,
shout out Colombia.
Yeah, she lives in LA. Thank you, Doris. And I was like, okay, they're texting me, asking me where I'm staying because these people don't fly on a regular. So now they're coming for a full weekend in Miami, right?
So now you got to deliver.
I was like, okay, well, I can't room with 10 people. And then 10 people turn into 20, 20 non-flight attendants, right? And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Right.
So I was like, I started calling all these hotels in the area. And I was like, can you guys give me a discount? Like if I book 10 rooms. And then they were like, sure. So then I got a group discount.
Okay.
And then I paired everybody based on personalities because like I know everyone on a one-on-one basis.
Oh, okay. So based on your judgment of their personalities.
Based on the judgment of the personality.
Gotcha.
But it worked out well. I had no complaints.
That's good.
Could have been really south, right? But it worked out well.
That's great.
That's a good call, like judgment, because it could have, it could have been a bad experience. With like, man, me and my roommate, we got into it. Like, we just didn't buy. But the fact that I mean, spending how many like 1 or 2 days with someone you don't know and
traveling
you don't buy,
always brings out the best,
or
the worst.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
So not only was I planning people's stays, now I was also planning people's things to do because they're like, oh my God, you're always in Miami. Figure it out. Like, what should we do? We follow you, Victoria.
People don't want to like pressure themselves with the burden of having a plan. Like they just want shit.
They want to show up and
Exactly. And I think it's not even just like wanting to show up with the platter, but they're like, well, Victoria knows best, right? Because she goes to Miami all the time. Which I agree. I mean, I don't know best, but I agree that I would probably be in the same situation, right? And so now I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw this boat party. I sell out literally the night before. And I'm like, oh my God, I made my money back. I didn't make any money from it, but I just wanted a good
But you didn't lose money.
Party. I didn't lose money.
You just wanted to have a great event.
I just wanted to have a great event.
Just to pull it off.
Because I was like, why not, right?
Yeah.
And then I brought 35 strangers together on this boat, and we had the most epic party and weekend, right? Because it turned into a weekend activity. And then they were like, when is the next one?
Immediately, the spark happens.
And I was like, what next? Like next year? Yeah, the end of the summer party. Yeah, we'll do it again.
No,
they're like, no, we want to hang out.
Run it back.
And then people became friends, and people started traveling together, and friends started spending holidays together that met at this boat party.
Wow.
So I was like, wait, maybe I have something going here.
Okay.
Right? So I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I decided to, okay, let's put a stamp on this. Xcapé Adventure. Let's do it. And it was so funny because I kind of did a test on my birthday. I reached out to a club, and I was like, yo, I can bring, real tough shit, right? I can bring 150 people. No problem. Yeah.
Hey, on that Jorge Iturralde shit right there.
I know, right?
We have a buddy that's similar shit, but back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Very similar, like Austin. Like, I could bring 300 people to this club.
So he started, so he moved to Austin from LA, and he was a DJ. And he was a rock en español type of DJ.
I love that.
So he was like, I want to bring the same thing that I did in LA to Austin. Because everybody here was just doing salsa. And he pretty much went to places. And he went to the first place. And he was like, hey, this is my plan. I'm going to bring the people, but I'm gonna do rock en español. They're like, no. And he told them, all right, I'm going to close you down in a couple of months. He went to another place. and then that worked out.
He's like, I'm gonna bring the people that come here to the place I'm going to because you didn't give me a shot.
And then he started hustling. He went to events at UT.
Pass out flyers.
Pass out flyers.
The social media was print.
Yeah.
You were just flyers and letters and stuff.
And then after that, he was like, he goes there and then he meets a person in charge of like an association, like Hispanic association in Austin. And he's like, hey, how many members do you have? And the lady was like, I have 150. Like, oh, yeah, we can work something out. Just bring them over and we'll take care of everything. And then he tells the new owner, like, hey, whatever you do, sell dollar beer, dollar shots at this certain times. And
Back then it worked. Now, inflation.
Inflation, yeah. That wouldn't even pay for, like, probably the bouncer.
So he said, like, after that, people started coming. He started getting known by everyone, but it was all because of him just
having the confidence.
Coming in and be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'm going to bring it. I don't know how. And I think he even told his girlfriend at that time, he's like, hey, how many family members do you have? She's like, how about 20? He's like,
bring them all.
I need 100. So then that worked out. So that's pretty good. You know?
That's good. Yeah. People like him, people like you, they have that boldness to just really take a chance and like say, you know what? I could bring people here. So that's what you do. That's what you did.
Yeah, I went up to this club and I was like, I know you guys are fairly new, and I can bring 150 people here and close that. Just let me have my private birthday party. And they were like, Saturday night.
Where was the club at?
XOXO in Dallas.
Okay.
So I did a masquerade party, and sure enough, it brought 100 to 150 people in. We bought bottle service.
Did I have this one question? The clubs always have. So how many girls are you bringing? Because I want to have the ratio of guy and girl.
The ratio,
thing.
bro.
Okay, so funny.
The ratio.
It was like, I was like talking about this earlier today too. I'm like, for some reason, it's worked out every time.
Okay.
It's been pretty even. Good. Even on my travel trips, you know, like you're traveling somewhere, like, do I want to get stuck with like 10 guys and like 2 girls? Like, no, right? But it's been so even.
That's good.
That's great.
So I feel like my birthday was kind of like that, like little hint of like, should I do it or not, right? So because I shut it down, and I mean, we hit our mark, I was like, okay, I can do this. So I did a Xcapé goes to Tulum. Yeah.
Tulum, man.
Yeah, the word Tulum.
That seems
February,
to be the buzz
yeah.
place of our generation.
It is, definitely. I feel like maybe now with Europe traveling, it's kind of like, okay.
It's changing a bit, but
it's still
I think
like
it's like coming over the hill. Like
I don't know that it's, okay, I'll tell you this. Tourists are still going to go there.
Yeah, right.
But the people who like created Tulum are out somewhere else.
Interesting thing.
So the guy that, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but Palazuelos, a famous actor in Mexico, he's the reason why Tulum started. They call him El Diamante Negro because he was like dark-skinned dude. And he said, you know what? I want to have the same thing that Acapulco has, but in this one like part of Mexico, like on the other side of, on La Otra Costa. And that's when everything started. They did a documentary. He invested in some, you know, properties and hotels in there. And that's what started bringing more people to, you know, to Tulum, but it was more like Mexico. But I don't know, like the American part and international part, how is it now? But from what I heard is like, you know, it's the people that used to go.
Well, Richie, I hate to break it to you, but Tulum was actually started by the Mayans. No, I'm just fucking with
Los
you.
Mayans.
I mean,
I'm just fucking with you.
Joey's trying to take credit, right? These other people.
No, but like, I went to Tulum as probably like a 17, 16-year-old kid with my family. And, you know. Órale. Una coronita.
Okay.
Para el rey.
Rey.
No, but seriously, so when I went with my family, and it was a totally different time. You're talking like more like 12 years ago.
Oh, it was nothing like what it's now.
Yeah.
So when I went, I was amazed at how like this was a drive away from Cancun, the hustle and bustle of the Cancun kind of touristic mecca, and then you go to Tulum, and it's like totally local. There's a preserve. There's a historical archaeological place on the side of the beach that you're like chilling where the Mayans chilled, learning their story, and then you walk down the stairs, you're on this perfect beach, and you like want to have a beer, you walk down the beach and there's a little puesto selling
I love that.
selling camarones,
Bring it back.
selling micheladas. And I look around and I'm like, we're in the middle of nowhere. Like we're in a historical spot. And then you go back up and then the only people you see around are on bikes. And they're, for some reason at the time, they were European, they were French. And they would literally camp on the beach in a tent. So Tulum for the longest, or since I went, always had a draw for
nomads.
For the nomad, the like that European kind of nomad, people that wanted to just go out and explore, and maybe not be in like such a luxurious site, but be in like a place that's real.
I always call it la gente que creció rica que quiere viajar de pobre. Pero nosotros que crecimos pobres queremos viajar como ricos.
I said, catch me at the Hyatt to next
Like for
weekend.
example, I only do Uber in Chicago. Chavato,
Oh shit, you got me.
Yeah, had he said Lyft though, it would have been like, no, he's living penny to penny. No. I think it's true, like how much Tulum has changed, and like I remember thinking to myself when I was planning this Tulum trip, February 26th. I mean, if you guys have been recently or heard, it's expensive. O sea, es como que yendo a Saint-Tropez, Ibiza, Mykonos. It's on another level. It's not Mexico. Like Cancun's expensive for Mexico. Tulum está como que fuera del mundo. You know? So I was like, fuck, I didn't think about that when I said, everybody, we're going to Tulum. And then I was like, yo, these tickets are going to be like, at minimum, $1,000. Right?
For like the flight, the stay, or what?
So now what I created with Xcapé Adventure was basically when you book a ticket, it includes transportation to your hotel for the most part. Hotel, it includes every excursion, every party, every like just little Minac. We had dinners, reservations, all those little things that are included in a normal itinerary. You get all of that. So you don't have to worry about a thing. You come, you pay, you show up, you meet friends.
You enjoy.
You guys, have you ever stayed at a hostel?
Yes,
I've had once,
I've stayed at many hostels. Some great, some not so great.
You have your ups and downs, right? But I think everybody needs to experience a hostel because
for sure.
Hostels are amazing for those travelers, those like nomads, those like I have a trouble bug.
They get you into those adventures that you had no idea.
Exactly. Yeah. So I always seem like I kind of describe people. Xcapé is kind of like a prestigious hostel on the go. Okay. So you get to come because I'm catering to people who don't like to plan. Have money to spend, but also want to meet other people like them.
Like-minded.
And there's a lot of people that have
entrepreneur kind of like vibey adventures. Yeah, exactly. So I was nervous though because I was like, I didn't really know what my market was. I didn't know what I was what to expect, and I was like, $1,000 for the cheapest ticket. That's kind of a lot. I'm Mexican. I remember we talked about we didn't grow up rich. That's a lot of money. But I was able to bring 35 people to Tulum.
You created something with true value for a certain market that was willing to take that leap. And once they did, they had no regrets. Because from what I remember of our mutual friends that have gone to these Xcapé trips, they are like nothing but raving reviews about them, about the people that they met, the experiences that they had, and how much of a truly great way it was to travel. So kudos to you for being bold enough to do
a
that.
lot of it. So like I don't know much about it. I'm learning more about it, but a lot of it is just in the person that's planning it behind it.
It's very indicative. Yeah.
Because you can be someone that, I mean, for example, what happened with Firefest.
Everybody was like, "Are you gonna be the next Firefest?"
Shit!
Don't tell me that.
That's some negativity vibes.
So, but like
say with that bullshit,
but no. But I mean, it's good to point that out because you're behind it because it's genuine. You're not trying to get something out of an investor and promote something that it's not gonna be like it's fake. Right. You're creating something genuine. How you said. The connections that people have made, the fact that when they show up, literally everything is there for someone that doesn't like to plan. Like I don't like to plan. Every time I go on vacation, I'm like, I'm gonna wing it. I don't care what we do. No. La que caiga. So
That's anti. That's
Okay,
anti.
listen,
what
I will
Vicky
plan
stands
your
for.
next trip for free. Just like don't do
Damn.
that.
Said it here first on Otra,
I heard
por
it first,
favor.
Otra, por favor. As long as it's in the States, because I can't go outside. Because if I go outside, I can come back. But that's another story. but one thing, like say when I think of like that type of events, if it's genuine and if it's work that's behind with thoughtfulness and with like my wife, she also likes to plan things every time we go, and we rarely have any problems on scheduling because she has like to the dot what we're gonna do. I tell her, okay, that's great, but you need to have at least 2 days. If it's out of those 3, where we're gonna not do anything and just wing it. So, but like, so what you're doing is something that like it's real, it's possible, and it's enjoyable.
And the crazy thing is, like, as I continue to grow this brand and work with other people, I think the biggest thing from it is like, so I've only been able to do Latin countries. So I've done Tulum. Well, Miami was like technically the first one, right? But Tulum, Panama, and now I'm in Austin. And I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from working with all these people is I want everybody to win. Like, I will be honest, I'm not making a penny from my events right now. But like how you said, like, I'm trying to be genuine. I'm trying to incorporate locals. I'm trying to help others that like maybe not have an opportunity like to do something like this, be part of it. Because I think there's room for everybody, and I think that does like showcase. Like, doing Tulum, I mean, I was kind of all over the place, but it was a very difficult, like, kind of like mindset to have. I was like trying to make sure I didn't put money in, trying to make sure I also like made sure everybody had a good time. And that whole thing that you said is funny, like, you need to have like 2 days or you to do nothing. I packed up that Tulum schedule, like, no joke. And it was like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. And I just remember like thinking, like, I mean, everybody had a great time. Our videos are phenomenal. Like, everybody has nothing but great like memories to talk about. But I did take that. You said it and I felt it that trip. I was like, yo, when I go to the next trip, I need to add some breaks.
It's good. Like, say for example, it's good for like whenever I started doing photography and doing like some events. There was one event where we had Stuber there, and there was just like Stuber's our goalkeeper
for Austin FC.
Shout out Stuber.
Hello.
Big love to you. and like for a moment I was like, I'm just so worried about getting everybody a picture with Stuber, but like I want to get pictures of everyone in there as well, or I want to just sit back and enjoy it and then figure out something different. So then I'm not just, oh yes, he's the guest, the honorary guest of that event, but I'm not just like all over Stuber. But I tell everyone, hey, I want to get as many people like, and I told them from the beginning, I want to get as many people as possible with Stuber in that picture. That's my goal. But that's not my end thing. I want to enjoy the time. And then that helped out too, because for you, like say, for example, sometimes in those events, you still need your break. Like you still need the time to hang out, sit back, relax. You know what? Let me have a beer with you. And how's your day? Like, and that builds genuine things, because who knows? Maybe the next person that goes is going to be represented by someone that knows Diplo, and they're like, man, she was all over the place. But she sat back and she had a beer with me, and we had una mariscada, and and then from there it's like that would change. Like you never know, like who you're gonna meet.
Yeah. And it's funny because like, so I did the Tulum trip. I knew every single person on that trip, right? So it was really cool. I kind of there was like 2 or 3 people I maybe didn't know, but for the most part I knew everybody. Yeah. So I just wanted everyone to have a good time. I'm always about that person. Like, I'm always like, I want everyone to vibe. When we went to Panama, I think I only knew 5 people.
Wow.
So
it was a different challenge, different experience.
And how many people did it go?
That one was 15.
Okay.
15, 16 with me.
You knew a third of the people there.
I knew a third of the people. And the cool part, though, was that they were so excited because they had seen what happened in Tulum, And I was like, oh my God, like these high expectations.
That vibe, the expectations, the energy.
Yeah. And I will never forget, I remember I came in, and had a meeting with the director of the hotel that we stayed at. And, we were just talking. He was like, I think what you're doing is really cool. Like, I keep doing this, yada, yada. And I, like, from my corner of my eye, I saw a couple sitting I was like, I think they're with my group, you know?
Yeah.
So we finished our lunch, and then I got up and I walked over. I was like, I don't mean to be weird, but are you guys here for Xcapé? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, I'm Victoria. And just seeing how excited they were to like see the person behind the magic, I guess.
Yeah.
I sat down and had like a drink with them, hung out. I wanted to hear about them. How did they hear about me? Like, what are they expecting? What are they like? And then that night I was like, let me take you guys to dinner. Because it was a day early before the event started. Some people got in earlier. And I took them to dinner. And we like explored Panama in a sense. And like, it was cool just to hang out, you know? And like with these people that are so excited to be there, because some people only get to vacation, real vacation, like twice a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are memories that literally last a lifetime.
You got to make it worth it at that point. You got to make it amazing.
And all I was like thinking was like, if this is one of their weeks, it needs to be one of the best weeks of their lives.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's
Man,
awesome. That's awesome that like
yeah.
a lot of people under pressure kind of sometimes feel the weight of it, but like you rise to the occasion. And that's something that I tell Richie all the time. Like whenever we're doing these shows, like this is the best podcast episode we're ever doing.
Yeah, we always want.
So like, I'm excited.
Like, we take like the
we
whole
take it
like.
seriously. We take it very seriously.
Yeah, we take it like, that was a great episode in the past, but this one right here
This
has
one
to be
here
better.
is the best.
Like
And
say,
it's amazing because every time, like if you continue to put in your everything
Right.
and your 100%, like I was taught this in book selling. If your clients and your customers are happy, you are going to continue to give good work. Because like it's something about like that like just vibe of being around happy people that just makes you want to do better and better and better, right?
Right.
So it's like, sure, I mean, I'm probably the #1 podcast right now, guys.
Hey.
so
Otra, por favor.
yeah, está. One question that I
next
have.
week, but it's me right now, okay?
Yeah, we already. So the next week's episode started being recorded last week. So our
2 weeks from now, just saying.
It's all good. It's all good.
But you're going on next week.
No,
for sure.
seriously. No, I truly believe that just like there is a vicious cycle of negativity,
There's also a vicious cycle of positivity.
And you have to roll with that.
Yeah, you have to continue to push.
You gotta
yeah.
you gotta hop on that wave
yeah.
and swerve that negativity
Yeah,
wave.
I mean, and it's good, like, say, for example, to know what the negative outcomes are going to be in case shit goes south. But whenever you continue, like, they're always saying, like, the haters are people that, not, haters, whatever. But haters are
Shout out to my haters
like,
out there.
Haters are always going to be people that don't have anything going on. And they're just there to talk shit. But once that hater does something that's meaningful and that takes time, when was the last time you heard a successful person hate on anyone?
Exactly.
Because they're all worried about creating something. And like, say, for example,
they're in their own vibe.
Yeah. So whenever you're creating things that are good, you're gonna have that itch of whether it's traveling, whether it's creating an event, whether it's recording this, doing this photo, whatever. You're always gonna continue to want to just do better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
And that's, and sometimes in the Latino community, especially in the Mexican community, we kind of have that thing where someone's doing good y como que nos da un poquito de envidia. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
That's unfortunate.
It is.
Right.
It's
And,
really
and
unfortunate.
I think it's something that, like, as I continue to grow with my Latino friends, and I always tell my girls and all my really, really close friends, I mean, Uzi being one of the biggest supporters I've had, my best friend Ray being one of the biggest supporters I've had. Like, I'm like, if I win, you win. Like, my thing is, like, if I'm coming up, you're coming up with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it has a lot to do with, like, that you are who you surround yourself with, you know?
Right.
And I think that when you put yourself in a position where all your friends are just pumping you up and giving you motivational speeches and just helping you out, whatever it is, it's like, I'm going to remember that,
Yeah, and I love hearing that about Uzi, because a lot of people know him as kind of like this shithousery type guy. Like, he kind of just is always like joking with you, kind of talking shit, but really he's got a great heart. And you have an amazing heart too. So it's like you guys are just pushing each other. And that's what friendships.
That's
and
a true
bonds
friendship.
should
Yeah,
do.
that's what it's supposed to. That's supposed to be.
Richie's always said this thing, and he was. I had no idea I was going to be in that podcast. And he was just like, come through, man. Just come hang out. And all of a sudden, I'm on the mic.
He's lying. He begged you, right?
No, it was a funny thing. He sent me a message like, "Hey, I have these ideas," and then we're gonna record, and then we were like, "Dude, we have 4 microphones. hop on it. And after that, we're like, hey, you want to be part of it? Like, hell yeah.
Dude, so like Richie's, like one of his biggest concepts is everyone can, how do you say it? Can eat a piece of the pie. You've said this like most of those times. Everyone can get a piece of the pie or some shit like that.
Yeah, like say if the pie is there, I want everybody to get a share of it. I don't want to be the person that, say for example, I want to make sure you get your share. Right. I want to make sure you get I don't want to be the one person that takes 80% and then the rest only get 20. Like I want to be able to hey, you know what? Any situation like when it comes to say for example, not even Alan and Terry, interviews, collaborations. If Koke gets something done with an article in the future, go for it, dude. Like say he gets called for a photo shoot because of his looks. And I'm like, hey man, as long as you tell him I told you how to dress, go for it.
Created by Richie.
Created by Richie. But no, and that's one thing that a lot of the times we just have to do. Like whenever we see someone creating anything, we have to push each other. Luckily, and I'm glad, a lot of the community that we have that do podcasting in Austin, we're all vibing. We're all supportive of each other. Yeah. There's no amazing animosity. Like there's other podcasts that we've had that that people think oh man, you guys are competing. Like I don't think dude, heck no. Like someone was like, so what's the competition like? And I was like, dude, cute dude. Like that's all. No, it's not a competition. Like just because you're doing something similar, just because they're doing something similar, it means we're competing. No, I want them to succeed because then they're succeeding their way and we're succeeding our way and the other person succeeding their way. But by no means my goal is to be, the best podcast in Austin. I'm like, man, I would say the best podcast where you can come drink a beer. That's my thing. Do
this thing we're doing now.
Yeah.
Vicky, so you've talked to us about this beautiful thing you've created with Xcapé, but we all know that in creation comes challenges.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and even in your day-to-day now, you're facing challenges. What have been some of the biggest challenges that you've had with Xcapé, and how have you overcome them and dealt with them?
Well, luckily I have a job that gives me a lot of time for flexibility in the sense that on my off time, I'm off. There's no deadlines. Like if a passenger wanted 3 Diet Cokes and I served it to them, I don't remember who that passenger was after I get off that plane, right? So it's work is done. I can focus on what I want to do. And so luckily I have the time, but man, even the time that I do have, which is a lot, is not enough, it feels like. It's one, it's because you have to socialize to expand your brand, right? And then number 2, again, we go back to being this first generation Latino. It's my parents aren't rich and can't just fund my business, right? I'm literally self-funding myself. And to this day, I'm literally haven't made $1 to my name. But everything I keep telling myself is that it's going to be worth it. And every event just gets better and better, And luckily, I've been able to reach out to people to help. So I have a mentor with New York, that they've set up for me, and he helps me, and he's like, okay, we're going to get these numbers. This is what we're looking and projecting. And he helps me understand what to do with my business. And I think that those are resources that people really need to reach out. If you're starting your own business and you're, wherever you're located, there are services for that. Take advantage, because being a Latino and being a minority shouldn't be a reason why you don't prosper and succeed, right? And so that, and number 2, if there's anything I've learned with Austin event that I'm planning this Saturday, tomorrow, technically, 2 weeks from now when this gets posted, is that things are going to fall apart. Things are not going to go the way you planned it to.
Right.
I started off with one venue. Something happened, and I had to switch venues. I started off with one headliner DJ. Something happened, had to switch DJs. And so, I have to think fast. I have to be what's the next move? What can I afford? What can I not do? And even this morning, I walked to my event space, and they're like, by the way, the person building your stage can't do it. I was are you kidding me right now? If there's not anything else that can just go wrong. But you know what? I think going back to just that positive thinking, that positive atmosphere, that having a supportive like group behind you. These are moments that really could just like break you, right? Like you could just be like, I don't have enough funds for this, so I can't do it. I quit. Refund. No, nothing's happening. I could easily just be like, I don't want to ever do this again, which I've said that already, but you know,
throw in the towel.
Yeah.
That ain't Vicky.
And it's so easy though in those moments of being so under pressure, because for me it's like, whether it was $30 that you pay to come to this party in Austin, or it was $120 to pay to come to this party in Austin, you deserve to have the best night. You know? So whatever it takes from my end to make that happen, I'm going to do that. And I think that's the one challenging part, is like, you have to remember your why. You have to remember it is going to get hard. I mean, I think every minute before this podcast, this is like literally my relaxing time. I'm not doing anything for work.
We're flattered. Thank you. I'm glad we're not bringing you any stress to like, what should I say? Thank you.
No, seriously, it's like, you know, I'm coming in from Dublin last weekend, and like I land at 2 p.m. and it's like, okay, I should nap because time change. I'm tired. We're working for 7 hours.
You got to stay up.
But I have work to do. I have Xcapé going to Austin next weekend. I have to contact. I have to email. I have to put things together. And luckily, I've been surrounded, like I said, with supportive people that have helped me, because I am a one-person team right now, which hopefully in the next couple months that changes. But it's just those challenging moments where like things are falling apart and you have to think on your feet, and like things are going to work out. People are going to fail on you. I was thinking I was going to take 40 people to Panama. I took 15, you know?
Right.
But that still ended up being okay.
Yeah.
And it ended up being very successful still, you know? And I mean, wherever your business lines in, I think as long as, like you were saying, people are genuine, you do the work the way you're supposed to, you have your heart in it, and you have a why, you just got to push. I'm pushing through right now.
And there's one thing, like when I think of businesses, when you're thinking something different that has to do with service, make sure people have a good time. A lot of the times, we always think of the monetary. How much money am I going to make? How much this is going to happen? How much is it? But when you think of what am I going to do to make someone feel good? And then the money, like say that your motive has, I mean, when you're doing something like this, what is my goal for this event? The monetary part comes afterwards.
1,000%. And I think it's funny you say that. Going and tracking back to my book days, there was a day or when they train you for every moment that you're going to have in the book field. And they tell you, listen, because we turn off our phones during the day. There's no distraction. You're working, right? And they tell you, like, your parents are going to call you at night. Before you go on this trip, tell your parents not to ask you how many sales did you make. Because it's not about the sales, is did you put in the work. Because you've put in the work, you put in the genuine, the sales at the end of the day will add up. Whether I said, for example, I think it was like for every 10 people I sit down with, every 10 people I speak to, I sit down with 3, I make 1 sale. It was something like that, right? So even if I sat down with 20 people and talked to 6 and 0 bought, that means tomorrow I'm going to sell like 2. Do you get what I'm saying? You just have to put in the work. And I told my dad that. I was like, hey, Dad, like, don't ask me how many sales I made. But again, he's thinking quick response, right? So I finished my night, and of course my dad's like, so how many sales did you make? I was like, God damn it, Dad.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Pero por qué?
It's difficult. I definitely relate to that, because in the project engineer world of construction projects, like a lot of times as a young professional, you're like, how much is enough? What is a good day? And what I've learned is that a good day is when you feel that you did everything you could that day. You gave
There's
it 100.
only so much you can control.
That can be 8 hours. It can be 6 hours. It can be 12 hours. It can be so many different things, but it just depends on how you felt you've given that day and what you've done and your satisfaction, and boom, just reset the clock the next day, reset your mindset the next day. Right.
And it's funny because like my dad never learned his lesson, no matter how many times I told him. And then I tell him I'm doing this company, and I'm like, Dad, I'm going to Tulum. It's an expensive trip. You need to understand that if I don't make money from this, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm building my brand. And of course, I finished to loan. So how much did you make? Y yo, apá.
Te acabo de decir.
And he's like, es que no entiendo por qué chingados tienes que estar haciendo algo que no te va a traer dinero. And I was like, papi, ¿tú crees que el señor de Apple hizo Apple y ganó el primer día?
Yeah.
How many times do we hear stories about these influential entrepreneurs that try and don't make it out? How many times was Elon Musk in debt? Right?
Yeah, tons of times.
So many times. So it's like, that's the only thing that keeps me on the same site going. And I told my dad, I was like, you can't, it's really deteriorizing, you know, especially from your family.
Yeah, it's demoralizing for sure. You know, like sometimes your family can be the biggest influencers and motivators, but at the same time, without them wanting to,
right?
they can be your biggest detractors, unintended detractors, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially doing something that you're doing like entrepreneurship. But you talked about brand, you talked about what your trips are and what it takes to do them. What do people get out of a Vicky G Xcapé trip?
Ooh. I don't know. Come to one. Check it out. It's kind of like exclusive. No. In all seriousness, has anyone ever like experienced going to a new city? Let's say you go to Mexico City and you go and you have nothing planned, right? And then it's 5 days long trip. On day 5, you finally figure out where to go. You finally meet some friends. You finally are like, okay, I'm getting used to the city, like what to eat, where to go, how to reuse the subway, and it's time to go.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks, right? You're like,
Sucks.
dang it. Like, I just met these people. They were so cool. They're staying for another week. I wish I was staying with them. Like, this whole vibe, right? So, like, with Xcapé, it's almost like I did that work for you. And now we're just getting to the nitty gritty. So it's like exploring the non-touristy places. It's going in depth with relationships with these people that you're connecting with or on this trip. And it's literally like creating these memories that are once in a lifetime kind of stories, you know?
That's beautiful.
I think I've like, not trying to toot my own horn because I feel like a lot of travelers can kind of say the same thing. But when you've traveled enough and experienced some of these like out of the world experiences, it's this kind of like natural high that you're like, I want everyone to feel this. Like I want people to experience this.
No,
you know?
that's well said, and I think your mission is true, it's valid, and it's extraordinary, and I think what you're doing is something special, right? So this is a perfect place, a perfect time to do it. Especially, we've talked about it before. Latinos, we're having like a resurgence in the mainstream, especially now.
Yeah, we're trending.
We're trending.
We're cool.
Yeah, we're
like everyone wants tacos and tequila.
Back then, we had to do the crossover. We had to do our things in English and this and that.
Exactly.
Now it's like, hey, you know.
Yeah, I'm giving you permission to wear that poncho. Excuse me.
El zarape.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what better person to start something like what you're doing than Vicky Gonzales? So.
Hello.
And I think a lot of it has to do with also the experiences you've had, and like you said, you're yes, everything that's gonna happen. You probably question yourself whether you're gonna do it or not, but the fact that you're doing something different, I think that's what I enjoy from people when they do something different than just like the regular 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
And you're taking advantage of every opportunity you have because of the flexibility with your work, because of what else you can do whenever you're off. Some people, whenever they're off, they want to just sit back and I don't know. But you're like, hey, you know what? I have these events. Let's do this.
And there's nothing wrong with, sitting back and relaxing, because I do think, like, relaxing is great. I actually kind of want to do this after Saturday, you know?
Dude, yeah.
But
go ahead.
I would say you kind of touched on the subject of, like, being something different. And, coming to Austin, I originally had this, like, club, like, reserved for my party. Like I said before, it didn't work out, so I had to think quick. I reached out to every person that I knew that was in the industry that had that maybe connected me with someone, and I found this like magical house. From the outside, it looks like a typical East Austin vibe house. And then you walk in and it's literally the biggest space you've ever seen in your life, right? Outdoor, indoor. And I'm literally taking this space and creating like my experience in Tulum here, right? So I'm like, the name of this event is Xcapé brings Tulum to Austin. And I'm incorporating DJs that are found there, international, and bringing something different to Austin. You know, I was so scared. I think for the first week I had only sold like 20 tickets. They were all like my sorority sisters and my friends and Uzi and his friends.
Hey.
And I was like, shit, like I am, oh my God, is this even worth it? Like I'm like, it would have been so much cheaper to have it on 6th Street on a bar. I will say that.
Yeah.
I would have not been coming out of pocket. But this place just like was like, this is gonna be it.
It was
this
magical.
is gonna be the vibe.
You saw the vision. You saw the vision there.
You have something about it.
Yeah, I was like, this is where we're gonna capture the realness of being exotic and different, right? So I was like, all right, it's gonna cost you like 5 paychecks. You got it, you know? So I did, and now we're at 101 pre-sale tickets.
Wow.
Damn.
You know? For a week, I was sitting at 24,
It's
25.
gonna be a vibe.
And it's a one-day event that's gonna happen.
So yeah, I started doing, so my thing is travel. Okay. So I travel with my Xcapé company. Right. But now I kind of want, a lot of people were messaging me and so many people were like, oh, we can't go on this trip. I can't take that many days off. So I figured, you know what, why don't I do pop-up parties? Do something in Austin or Dallas. I was kind of thinking Dallas first because it's like my home.
It's your home.
But then like Austin kind of was pulling on my leg. And it kind of happened.
It does that.
Tell me about. I'm being here for
the city has 7 years,
so
it's amazing. It's amazing. I can't deny it. And now, like, I'm working with someone to do something in New York, which more information will be released for that. Okay. And then Miami, to kind of like build on brand, but at the same time, like, give that travel experience to those that don't get it as often. You know?
No,
so,
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I love the concept of bringing something different, something cultural, to Austin. And like kind of bringing the world to here. You know, it's right. Cool. It's cool what you're doing, creating an environment, creating a world for people that maybe, like you said, don't have the chance to take that many days off. It's kind of special. Yeah. So on that subject, you know, people, you know, a lot of times, many people have like find themselves a little bit bogged down by the routines, the expectations of life. You know, like not being able to take that many days off. They don't travel as much. Like, what advice can you give to someone that maybe, or maybe not advice, but outlook you give to someone that has that feeling of being like kind of trapped by like the chains of day to day of like paying the bills and going to work and doing this, like that think that these things are that you're doing or you're experiencing it are kind of unattainable?
I would say 2 things because there's 2 outputs to this situation. You could either be someone like me who is doing a work-to-work, day-to-day, very like, you know, routine, but have the opportunity to take that leap and do something completely crazy and different or move to a new city. If you're that person, take that leap because it's going to be 100% worth it. You know, it's whether or not it works out, you took that chance and you're never going to be 25, 27 again. Like it just doesn't happen.
Right.
These years don't come back. Time is priceless, you know? So take advantage of it. If you can fuck up a little bit and then be like, damn it, this didn't work out. I have to live at mom and dad's house for like another like 2 years to recuperate. Dude, you're getting like the best huevos rancheros in the morning. You know? Like, that's the worst that can happen. You know what I mean? Our moms, our dads are always going to be there. And that's why we have them. Like, take advantage of having them here while you can. Right. You know? And if you're that second person who's really in more of a, like, I can't escape from my routine. I have responsibilities. I have kids. I have a wife. I want to be with this company. I don't want to leave it, but it's just very routine. Then take a weekend to yourself. So much is there to explore on like Texas and or your own state. Like there's so many states that I still want to go to. Montana, Idaho. Like
a lot of beauty in this country.
Yeah, there's so much to see. And even if it means like, hey, ask for a day off early and you want to travel to like, we're literally right next to Mexico. Let's go to Chiapas for like the weekend. Yeah. You know, save up for that. You don't have to have a week vacation to make it worth it, you know?
A couple of days in Mona.
Or one of my favorite places, West Texas, Big Bend.
Hey, I've heard a magical
National
things.
parks, the best dark sky.
They actually have
side of
this
the
like
hemisphere.
new hotel where you stay inside of like a den globe
Oh yeah.
at Big Band. I've been wanting to check
little bit
that
of
out. You know,
glamping from my man right here.
Yeah, I'm not a camper.
He's not a camper. He's a
I
glamper.
hate camping.
if you're somebody, for example, like I know there's a lot of people. I have friends, which is another reason why I did these like pop-ups that are on that Dream Act, you know, and they can't leave the country. And
That's a good point. Good
yeah,
point where you're going.
yeah. And as much as like, there's so many of my friends that like DM me like, oh my god, I wish I could go on your trips. Like, I can't, and that hurts. You know, it's like, dang it. Like, what can I do? I can do events here. You know, and what I've done before, like COVID hit, nobody could leave the country. What did I do? I rented a camper van. I started in North California and road trip the Pacific Coast Highway.
I saw that.
Yeah,
That was
For
pretty cool.
2 weeks. I cooked sausages in a van. I like slept with bees because like Joshua Tree is fucking hot and they will sneak up into your car. Okay?
Oh shit.
But they will wake you up too. So free alarm. No. Like, I mean, there's so much to do within our own country. Arizona is beautiful. Like, it's one of my favorite places I've ever visited. Places, not like states. So
Right.
get creative. Take the time.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Especially like say DACA recipients that can travel. You don't have to go. Like say there's Hawaii, for example, Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
the U.S. Virgin Islands. Anyone, any place that has a U.S. territory, as long as you have your stuff, you know, up to date, you're gonna be able to
there's
come
a
back.
lot of islands. I believe like Aruba is part of it.
Right.
And or I might be wrong, but there's so many islands
Guam
in
is
that
part of it too.
that general
Yeah.
that people don't know that you could go and travel to. And it's actually in my works for 2023 to actually do an event, like an actual travel event, because right now I'm just doing pop-ups for like the end of the year, but I want to do a travel event to one of those U.S. territories so that those people who are undocumented and can't, you know, leave the country have that opportunity to experience something with Xcapé.
That's good.
That's wonderful,
Good.
Vicky. So in a life full of travel, you know, serving others, event planning,
Pouring Diet Cokes.
pouring Diet Cokes,
That take too long.
20 minutes there. The ups and downs of entrepreneurship. How do you take care of yourself?
Oh my God, that's a good question. I'm actually in the works of like kind of managing that. It's funny you say that. And I feel like a big part of just like letting loose is hanging out with people I care about, doing things that have zero to do with like travel like this.
Right.
And I think it's just reminding myself that it's okay to turn my phone off, put it away. And it's ironic, but traveling is probably not the best for me when I want to relax.
Yeah.
And I just got off the phone with my grandpa yesterday, and I was like, okay, I'm coming to Dallas. I need some time. I need to relax. I need to unwind. And I think it's just spending it with people I love and my family. I think it's just, you know, you're present, and I'm with my people, and I don't have to worry about another trip. Not that I'm not worried about it. I will worry about it with the time being, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
during my time off, I think that's what I want to do. That's how I take care of myself.
That's good. Yeah, that's we so one thing we have is amongst all the great things that people do, we always want to ask people, what do you do to remain sane? You know, how do you take care of yourself? Because that's important. You can do all these amazing things, but if you're not looking out for yourself at the end of the day, then, you know, you're not looking out for anyone. And the most important person in you is you.
And it's important to note that, like, even as I've gotten older, I've realized how much mental state stability is, like, really important, you know? So if it means reaching out to a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and I have one, you know, because it's helpful. And it was a huge taboo in the Mexican culture. Like, I remember being diagnosed with ADHD and my family being like, you can't take medication, it's so bad. And I started Xcapé, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to allow something that small to keep me from achieving my best. So I go to a psychologist and a psychiatrist because I'm going to treat those matters. I'm going to be like, what's the best for me? Obviously, like, he monitors everything, you know? And it's like, if it means I need to go for a run in the morning and I have to cancel all meetings in the morning, then I'm going to do that because running is therapeutic to me. You know?
That's good.
Right.
And I think that comes with, like, really understanding how you work best.
For sure. We all got to give importance to our mentals.
For
like,
sure.
You know, Marshawn Lynch, ex-football player, that's what he said. Take care of your money, your chicken, your body, and your mentals. Mm-hmm. Very interesting way to say it, but take care of how you're making your life. Mm-hmm. Take care of your body, but the mental aspect is key, and I'm glad that you say that, because I think our generation of Latinos is giving it more and more importance. Compared to the previous, to our parents and to some of our older family members, but dude, that's so huge, and I'm glad that you say that coming on this podcast is a way of relaxation, because we always like to talk about this podcast. It's like you're coming on your friend's couch and you're just chilling, telling them.
I am so chilling right now.
Telling them the amazing things you're doing and just having fun. It's what it's about. It's what it's about here at Otra, por favor. So.
Yeah. Man, thank you, Vicky. I know this probably will put you on the spot, but is there something like, say, you want to know, or is there something that you need from us as your event comes in Austin?
I think just recognition, support, as I continue to build this. I mean, I'm a Latina, and I'll never forget that. I always put that out there first. And I think that what you guys are doing to creating a platform from other Latinos that are achieving things is more than what others are doing, and I think that's fantastic. It's and it's good for those who are listening, if you're not Mexican and can 100% identify, to remember that as Latinos we're all kind of in this together,
right?
So spreading word and sharing this, whether you're interested in traveling with me or not, maybe your friend is, you never know what relationship or impact you can have on them.
That's right. No, and great that you say that too, because at the beginning of the year, we set goals for each other, like, hey, what do we want out of this? What do we want out of this platform? And one of the things we said was we wanted to have this as a platform to promote and push others forward, especially Latinos and Latinas doing things that are outside of the ordinary, doing something out of the comfort zone and something that takes risk. And to me, that's everything that you're doing with Xcapé. We're fulfilling our promise, fulfilling our what we wanted to do in our goals. So by promoting and helping you in whatever way that we can to help you achieve your goals. And this isn't just like a one-time thing. Otra por favor will always promote your events and what you're doing, and be that person. Just to lean on,
show some love, and
love that.
Vicky, thank you for joining us. It's been an honor. First time I met you in person.
Yeah.
I know we met through text. But, great. And we're glad. Anything you need from us, let us know. And if we can do it, we'll do it.
Yeah,
as long as it's legal.
No, of course. I appreciate you guys for having me on here. I'll see you tomorrow because he's going to photograph. So if the video's still not good from Austin, guys.
Hey, so before we sign off, please tell our audience where they could find you on socials.
Yeah, so you can find me. My business page is Xcapé, Xcapé Adventure. Or if it's easier to find me, VicksAdventure. You can find me on there. TikTok, same thing. I'm on both platforms, kind of commonly, sometimes on Twitter. The Victorious One.
The Victorious One, okay.
Speaking into existence a long time ago. I keep conflicting on whether I should change it to VicksAdventure or not, but I'm like, the Victorious One. It's cool.
You gotta keep that
cool.
shit.
It is cool.
Get that Victorious One.
We'll definitely add all your socials on our show notes. But thank you for sharing. We appreciate you. We appreciate what you do, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Appreciate that, you guys.
And I'm sure Saturday is gonna be a blast.
It's gonna be a fucking
Can't wait.
blast. Salud.
Salud. Se cuidan, se portan bien y adiós.